Please come to order for this April 26th special meeting of the Bridgton Planning Board. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next on the agenda, approval of the minutes of April 4th, 2023. Can I have a motion? Moved by Mr. Harden to accept. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Gibbs. Any discussion on the minutes? Mr. Gibbs?
Yes, there's one place. Oh, darn, I should have made a note.
Is it a grammatical error?
It is a, it's an error that it says he as if I did it. And it should be referring to Mr. Sawyer at the time. Where the devil is that? I'm sorry, I should have made a note about it.
Yeah, we'll give you a second to find it.
It's on the last, next to the last page. It says, Ken Gibbs asked if the existing house's driveway would be turned into a road and how 100-foot frontage. And it said, he stated, and that would seem as if I said it, but that was Mr. Sawyer who
Okay,
responded.
so did you catch that, Laura Lee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So, okay, let's take a vote to approve it with basically a grammatical
basically.
clarification of Mr. Gibbs. I was not there, so I won't vote. Kathy, were you there?
I was.
So you get to vote for the purposes of this. All in favor, please raise your hand. 5-0. Okay. Next on the agenda, public comment. Speakers may be limited to 3 minutes. What I'd like to mention is because we have 2 public hearings tonight, anybody that's here for the public hearings need not go up right now. You'll get your chance when we get to the public hearings. But if there's somebody that's here for some other reason and something they wish to comment to the board, please feel free to approach the mic. Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on. Next on the agenda, Old Business 5A, Mountain Road Condos, Mountain Road, Map 12, Lot 18A, findings of fact and conclusions of law. Mr. Harden, would you please
I can.
continue to recuse yourself? Thank you. I will appoint Kathy as a voting member. All right, so we've got the findings of fact and conclusions of law. I've made the additions and corrections based upon the new site plan that was, or subdivision plan that was turned in by Mr. Harden. Are there any questions? Could I have a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Gibbs, seconded by Mr. Mattson. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. 5-0. And I have signed these, so do you want to give those to Laura Lee before you come back to the table? And congratulations, Mr. Harden. Good luck.
Okay. Let's see what we do.
You have a very quizzical look on your face, Mr. Mattson.
I was wondering, that was a subdivision, right?
Yes.
Do you
Yes.
have a Mylar?
Well, we do need the Mylars.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
which
what-
he should have sent those in, but I'll check.
Do we have
That's
the,
why-
do we
that's
have the
what-
Mylars for it? We just have to sign the Mylars within a certain amount of time.
I'll call Craig. I'll call Craig in the morning and have him send them up.
If,
Okay.
if we can just sign it by Tuesday, that'd be fine.
That was the reason for my look.
Thank you. I appreciate you reminding me of that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Can we do it at the Tuesday meeting?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the rule is it has to be recorded in the Cumberland, signed by us and recorded within 30 days.
Yeah.
So,
Plenty.
should be fine.
We're always here.
Okay, next on the agenda, 5B, Voodoo Holdings, North High Street, map 13, lot 10. Before we open the public hearing, at the last meeting, which I was not here, but I did watch the tape, so the board did not declare the application complete due to some missing items, so I just want to ask now, does the board feel that the application is complete? Or substantially complete?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes,
So
okay.
consensus from the board that the application is complete. And nobody recused themselves, as I understand it, so I saw at the last meeting, and the applicant has standing. So let's move on to the public hearing. I'll open the public hearing. And before we get going, so Mr. Boodoo, if you wouldn't mind coming up to the to the podium. So for the applicant, Mr. Boodoo, and for the folks here that want to participate in the public hearing, the plan here would be first, Mr. Boodoo will give an overview of his project. I know you gave one last time, but for the entire public, and you know, because it's a hearing, you get to do it again.
Okay.
And then we'll have people that are in favor of the project, please come forward to speak. People that are opposed to the project, please come forward to speak. And then people that are neither in favor nor opposed to the project to speak. And then at the end, the staff and the board will get to ask questions, you know, as well of the evidence. Just as a reminder, the criteria for approval that the board is looking at is the site plan standards. So that's and the land use district standards, which are in our land use code. Okay. So with that, I'll open the floor to you, Mr. Boodoo.
Yeah, last time we were here, I proposed for a usage change from a 120-person restaurant that was closed due pandemic. So with the square footage that's there, we proposed to put 6 one-bedroom units, and that's basically what we're looking to do. We're not doing anything structural. We're not changing the footprint of the property. It's basically what's existing is what we're going to use. We're not excavating. We're not changing the roof. We're just going to use the square footage and put inside partitions in to make the units accessible.
Okay, thank you. All right, then, with that, is there anybody who would like to speak in favor of the application? And you can sit down now if you want. That way other people can get there.
Yeah,
So, and what we'll do, Mr. Boodoo, is if people have concerns or questions, if you don't mind taking notes so you can answer them all at once instead of us getting back and forth on every single point.
Sure.
That work for you?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, is there anybody in favor of the application that would like to speak?
Yeah.
Please go to the mic, identify yourself, and provide your address, please.
Sure, my name is Brent Privatera. I live at 656 North High Street, Unit 20. I'm a tenant at the building, and I'm in favor of extending the motel as far as adding 6 more units. Presently, there's 21 units, and it's very comfortable living. There were no issues with any of the tenants, and the tenants also feel that 6 more units would not affect the area whatsoever.
Okay, and you're a tenant yourself?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
Been a tenant for 3 years there.
okay. All right, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate your testimony. Okay? Anybody else in favor of the application? Anybody opposed to the application? State your
Hi.
name and address, please. Thank
My
you.
name's Jack O'Brien, and we're at 12 Alpenboard Lane. We're abutters to the facility. We bought our place back in 1986 when it was the Laurel Lee and Mike Shulak had it. Okay, so we've been around a long time. We don't rent the place. We just have it as a family place for the winter and summer. Now, the issue here is that the motel has now been converted to condos, to apartments, sorry. But what they've been changed to is they've been changed to efficiency apartments and one-bedrooms. And this is a little unusual for an apartment complex. Usually if you want to build an apartment complex, they say two bedrooms and to each one bedroom. So this is a little unusual. We say, okay, who's going to rent these places that are efficiencies? And we say, well, they're principally going to be single people, and we think that they won't have children. And so we end up with a special mix of people there. And they're typically low income. We say that because if you could afford a one bedroom, you would get one. Okay. So we look at this also, we find that actually housing authorities would subsidize 25 of those units if they became available. And it's not that we're opposed to subsidized housing, it's a matter of the mix that's our concern. Because if the people we usually think of as elderly and disabled, well, they're not there. It's 3 miles from town, it's just too difficult. So what we're left with is people who are single people there, not there's a high mix of single people who are basically, some of them are underemployed. To qualify for subsidized housing, you have to make less than $18,450 a year. Minimum wage, full-time, would pay you $28,000 a year. So our concern here is we have a high mix of underemployed people there. That's our big issue. Also, we've had some difficulty with Mr. Budo in the past. We have. And we had an issue with the septic system. I want to tell you about this. We had a case where the septic system was overflowing and it was running down into the pond. So we got a hold of Brenda, and I spoke to him twice. And what happened was after multiple complaints, Brenda appeared to get it resolved. But then the signs went up because we had interfered, and it said, keep off my effing property. Okay, so this is the relationship we have with Mr. Budo. So now we say, what's going to happen now? I'm here to be with other people who have written in. And because those people have written in, I think I should stand up and stand with them. Okay, we're opposed to this. And the other thing about it is because of our relationship with him in the past, we think there may be a problem in the future. Like Mr. Budo has already put in the 3 doors, for the renovation. The 3 doors are in there now, so he's moved ahead with the project. What we think is this. We think that currently there's a little problem with the way that's situated. It's a motel. Motels are supposed to be for transient people. He has people in there who are permanent residents. And how we know that is if he has one person in there who's in subsidized housing, it's permanent residence. Because you could have a lease for someone who's in subsidized housing, a 1-year lease, it automatically renews. If it automatically renews, then it's there. So there should have been a change of usage here. If he was going to have people in there with subsidized housing, change of usage should be a non-conforming structure that's mostly a motel but accepts people on a permanent basis. So, quite frankly, we should have a change of usage. But we don't want you to do that now. We would like you to wait 6 months. 6 months and see how this resolves. If we have problems, in 6 months when you do it, you'd have to have a change of usage, you'd have to have a public hearing, and it would be televised. And at that time, if we have other problems, like signs put up along there, or if he puts junk cars around the edge of the property, something like that, we'd be able to bring this up at a public hearing. So we're saying, okay, you're going to make your decisions, true. But we'd like you to go and say, we'll take the change of usage under consideration for a future date. Well, we'd like you to do that. And one other thing I'm going to say here is, I know you people like to talk about hard criteria, definite measurements. This is not that. This is neighborhood impact. And neighborhood impact is fuzzy area. It's sort of like a Supreme Court justice was asked one time, define pornography. And he says, I can't define it, but I know it when I see it. And we say that this high mix, this high concentration of single, underemployed people in a place which is supposed to be for rural community, we think is inappropriate. So we'd ask you, one, we say you should vote no on that. Two, we'd say take the change of usage under consideration for a future date. Thank you.
Just a point of clarification,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien. Are you talking about the change of usage that's being proposed from the
No,
restaurant
I'm
to,
talking
you're
about
talking about the existing motel?
The existing situation there.
Okay,
There should have been a change of usage for that. Thank you.
okay, thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in opposition to the project? Seeing none, is there anybody that is neither for nor against the project but would like to speak? Name and address, please.
William Drew, 166 Stanley Hill Road.
Is that in Bridgton?
Excuse me?
Bridgton?
No, it's Freiburg.
Okay, thank you.
I've had an issue with Mike for years. I built his house, did all his excavating for his house out back, and I know when we hooked up the septic system in the outback, he found some old septic system that was there from years ago, and he wanted to just tie into half of it. And I don't know if that's the problem you're having with what's going down into the pond. And there's another reason I'm here is I did the work for him like 4 years ago. He still owes me almost $6,000 that he's never paid me for the work that I did for him. So I don't know how he's got money. He always tells me he's got no money, how he's got money to put into a project like this, because I'm sure that's going to be a couple $100,000 the time it's all done.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay.
Is that, what, did you get you say everything you wanted to? Sorry, I didn't mean to
Pretty
cut
much,
you off. Okay, thank you. Anybody else that wishes to speak on, go ahead, are you for, against, or neither?
Neither.
Okay, thank you. Name and address, please.
Mary Drew, Stanley Hill Road in Freiburg. I'm wondering on the impact with the community and the neighbors down there. I spoke to the police department, and I have a summary as of 1:22 p.m. today for police call logs for issues at the property. From January 2020 to April 26th today at 1:22 p.m., there have been 81 police calls to 656 High Street for various issues. During the same period, there were also 6 calls to 19 Devon Terrace behind. Another question I have is about the single-wide trailer that is across the street on his property, 665 North High Street. That arrived in late 2022. Is there a building permit for that? Is that going to go as well into the existing septic system? And he also has a track record of not paying his contractors when he's consistently had income from people living there. I have text messages from him and invoices and paperwork showing his last on December 23rd, 2019 at 12:11 p.m. Tell Bill I'll be...
Excuse me 1 minute. Folks, please mute yourself on the Zoom. Thank you. Go ahead. You might need to repeat
Okay.
some of what you just
On
said.
December 23rd, 2019, at 12:11 p.m., I have a text from him telling me, and I have it still, that I will be in touch with Bill for his payment. We have numerous times tried to get payment. He does this to several other contractors. We've placed a lien on the property, and he does nothing. So I guess I'm curious how he has the money to continue doing these things when he can't pay people that he already owes money to.
Okay, thank you. Would anybody else like to speak on the application, for, against, or neither? Okay. Mr. Boodoo, back to you.
So getting to Mr. O'Brien's question that he has. So he's, like he said, he only uses the house periodically, summer and winter. I live in my house that's on the property, and I manage my property. And when pandemic hit, my business got shut down, 2 of my businesses. And I have a multi-million-dollar.
Folks on the Zoom, please mute yourself. If there are people on the Zoom, 1 minute, Mr. Boodoo, I'm sorry. Were there people on the Zoom? Were there people on the Zoom that wanted to speak that I did not recognize? So if there are, please raise your hand or notify our staff somehow. So is there anybody on the Zoom that would like to speak? I see a baby waving his hands.
The baby wants to speak. I guess not.
Okay, nobody on the,
Can we hold on a second? They don't have audio.
okay. 1 minute. Sorry, everybody, for the technical difficulties.
Entertainment.
Yeah.
You're all set, Deb.
Okay. Was there somebody on the, on the Zoom that wanted to speak in favor, against, or neither for the Voodoo Holdings project? Just raise your hand or somehow signify, unmute yourself so that we know you want to speak.
Can they hear us?
Can they hear us?
He said it's working on our end, yeah.
Oh, so they haven't succeeded.
Can you send them a chat message on there, Brenda, that just someone can acknowledge that they can hear us?
Yeah. I think what we'd like to do to move ahead is, the hearing's obviously still open. I see these folks talking, and I don't know if they're trying to be recognized. I'd ask Mr. Boodoo to come back up and try to address the current questions, and then we can go back to the people on the Zoom to speak. Go ahead.
So getting back to Mr. O'Brien, so we did have a problem with the septic, and Brenda was called out, and the health inspector for the town came out, and she reported back to Brenda that there was no issue. And about a week later, Mr. O'Brien came to my front door. He must have been up on vacation or whatever it was. And he said, "Mike, I think you're having a problem again with the holding tanks. My leach field is across the street. It's across the highway. It's a forced 2.5-inch sewer main." So at that point, I had to have Dyer Septic come down, and they pumped out 4,000 gallons from the tanks, and the floats that are inside the tanks were no good. And I've sent Brenda pictures of that, and she told me that she was gonna upload them to you folks of the old pots, and then we replaced it, and it didn't happen overnight. During pandemic, I was lucky to even get a phone call back from the gentleman that came down to replace the floats. So he did have a legitimate question with the septic, but those are just the holding tanks. Across the street is my leach field. Brenda, and I believe you folks should all have a copy of the design that's there. And my leach field is good up to like 5,000 gallons per day. Now, with the restaurant being closed, that's thousands of gallons a day that's not going into that system. And getting back to another thing that he also said about renting, I did what Governor Mills said, and you can look to, right now, it's still available on her website. When they closed my hotel down during pandemic, she said, and it's still on her website, that you can do a 30-day minimum stay, and that's how we stayed open, and that's how I paid my taxes. My taxes to this town are $500 a week. I pay $25,000 a year in property tax. The town's got my properties assessed about $2 million. So every week, I have to pay my bills. And I do have a couple of people that are there from housing, but Maine Housing sends a state inspector down to check the unit and/or my boiler room to make sure everything's up to code. And when I do rent them, 30-day minimums, because I can't get the help for housekeepers or cleaners to go in. So me and my wife got to go in and clean the rooms. We have children. I have a 5-year-old granddaughter that's got autism that we have to take care of. So it just all kind of crunched in. But I'm just doing what the governor said. The governor's got Portland. There's every hotel in Portland. They allow people that need housing. The town obviously needs housing because you guys just approved the 48 unit, and I hear there's another 100 unit going in. So my little square footage that's empty, that I need to get income from in order to maintain my taxes, that's why I'm going for this plan. It's just an empty space. So to have 6 people living there, like he said, I don't know who he is to say if you're a single person or if you're, you know, a married couple. I actually have law enforcement officials that want those apartments that we're proposing to build that work right in Naples. So I don't know where he's saying low income just because you live 3 miles out of town, you're low income. I live there and I'm a millionaire. So I'll tell you what, you get my taxes every year, 25 grand. So I have property in Massachusetts, I got property in Florida, I got property in Trinidad. That's where my family's from. So getting back to Mr. O'Brien, there's gonna be no problems there. I'm there, I live on premise. That whole road that he lives on has to cross over my property. We gave them an easement to put that road in. So every time they drive to their house, they drive across my property to go to their home. So there's, I don't even know how many houses are down there, to be honest with you, because I very rarely go there. Not one of those people that live there full-time. It's just a vacation home to all these people. So I personally live there, and I maintain my property. I cut the grass, do the snow plowing, do the trash. I do everything myself. So I understand possibly where he's coming from. There's gonna be more people there, but I'm not an absentee. I'm always there. I'm on the property 24 hours a day. So to answer his question, and getting over to Mr. Drew, he did do work for us back in late 2018, and I don't know why he's here now. He was fired from the job. We threw him off the job, and he has, if he has receipts, I'd like to see a contract with my signature on it that he can produce, and then I would say he has a valid point. There's no contract because he was paid the money that was owed to him, and he was thrown off the job, and I had to hire another contractor to finish the job, Eric Douglas and Sonny Douglas contract, and finish the spreading of the dirt on my property. Getting to his leach field, I have a leach field that was existing to the 7-unit building that's in the back. The leach field was existing, and I had Dyer Septic come over, I don't know, in 2018 to do an inspection on it, and they said there's nothing wrong with that septic. It will last another 25 years. So I don't know where he's saying we did like a half job or this or that. The reason that that septic, it wasn't abandoned, it was just disconnected because we had the sewerage, I didn't, the previous owners did. They had that building go to a pump station down where Mr. O'Brien is, and it all pumps across the street. So I have a letter from probably 2018 from Dyer Septic. I paid them to come out and do a visual and an inspection, and they says it's fine, there's not a problem with it. I've been using it, I live there. I haven't had a problem in 4 years, going on 5 years.
Okay. So I think you've covered everything
Yes,
except there's a concern about the number of calls, police calls to your
I do know
property.
that in the past, we do get a lot of calls. We had a lot of medical calls as well that go there. And as far as the Bridgton police go, yeah, when the hotel's running at full occupancy, we have anywhere from 30, 40 people that are staying in those rooms. Sometimes they don't get along in the middle of the night because when the restaurant was open, people were in there, they'd go back to the rooms, probably had a few drinks, and they're a little rowdy, and the cops were called. And I'm not gonna get in the middle of two people that are up on vacation fighting. It's just easier to call the cops. That's what they're here for, right? To come and make sure that the law is enforced. So at that point, I don't know what the call is, 80-something calls, but I think it's irrelevant. The cops came, and maybe the police that are here could possibly justify a couple of the calls that were there. But there are medical calls that the ambulance does come there, and I'm sure Dan may know, because he's on the fire department, when the calls come in, what they're for.
So you don't, but when's the last time you operated the property as a motel?
We have been. It's a 30-day minimum rental. That's what we do.
Okay, so. I'm not, well, we'll get to that later. I'm not sure that really fits the definition of a motel in our standards.
In the state of Maine, it's right in the literature that you look it up. If you have the motel, you can run the motel for, I believe it's 280 days to rent to one person. The hotels that are here now, I rent 30 days minimum. There's people that actually have family on Beaver Pond where we live. They come up for a month, so I rent them one of the suites there for a month. So
Okay.
30
And-
days, 60 days, I don't think it really matters.
But you don't have the restaurant anymore, right?
That's where we're proposing to do the new
Right,
units.
right. So
Yes.
have the number of calls to the police gone down because there's no
I
longer a
believe so,
restaurant?
because I'm on the property all the time, and the last couple of times, I know it was medic calls.
So,
Restaurant
okay,
hasn't been open for a couple of years, correct?
That's correct. Right before pandemic. During it, that's when it was shut down.
2018, and I think
Correct.
they talked about 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So 2020 to 22 was where the data that was cited.
Yeah, I mean, I can answer, I believe, Glenn, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe the calls that the previous lady, I forget your name, I'm sorry, referred to, that is just from the police department. United, I believe, has a separate call log, as well as the fire department does. So the medical calls
Yeah, I don't
and the
know
fire
how it is
calls
then,
and the
yeah.
police calls, I believe are all separated in the system.
I don't know, that's why.
Okay, so
So-
let's move on. is there anybody now I hear people on the Zoom, so is there somebody on the Zoom that wanted to speak to the Mr. Boodoo's project?
I think the audio is not working again.
Well, I only have one person that says it's not working, the others have not answered me, so.
Okay.
Because every once in a while, somebody's voice
You can
comes
hear
in.
somebody, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, what I'd recommend for those people that are on the Zoom, if you want to speak, please either raise your hand so I can visibly see it, or if you know how to use the chat function, please send a message to, send a message on the sidebar there so that staff knows you want to speak. Okay. All right, so in terms of well, I'll get to that later, I guess. So let's move on to the board, questions from the board, and please stick to the standards, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You built your house in 2018?
I did.
Did you have a septic design done when you built your house in 2018?
No. Robbie Baker, I gave him the permit, and it was actually not filed for a year because it was on the visor in his pickup truck after he passed away. So Robbie came out and inspected, and you can ask Brenda, I was down at the
Oh,
office.
did you have a design done that was approved? Brenda, do you know?
Or,
His house?
I believe so, I'm sorry, I was working on the audio.
Well, I'm just saying-
Kinda after-
No,
no,
I-
listen,
we
no,
tied
no.
into the
My question is
existing.
relative to whether or not, the question was raised on the property that there was a connection to a system that wasn't being used prior.
Right,
Okay, and I'm wondering if that system had a design done for it, for
Yeah,
that house.
because Robbie wouldn't have gave me a building permit without,
so I got a question. So
Sure.
I got a similar, maybe this will help clarify. So on your site plan, if I can find it,
You want the,
no,
not that.
not that one, I do have it right here.
I almost did.
On your site plan, you show, got it. Hold on a sec. You show some wells,
Yeah, it's built.
so you show the
Pretty
holding tank and the pump station and then the leach field, the
Yep.
septic field. But you also show, this is it. You also show two septic systems behind the building here and another pump station. So if you want to come up, I can show you.
Sure.
And I think this is what relates to what Mr. So there's two marked by the engineer, there's two septic here, and this is a pump station.
Those are test pits. Those are test pits.
Those aren't septic.
Okay,
Those are
well,
test
it
pits.
says septic tank on this map, and then it says septic pump station.
Those are probably covers, like clean-out covers, where they would suck the sewage out of, and then they go down to the pump station. That's the existing restaurant, and it goes across the street.
The pump station is over here somewhere.
Correct, yes.
And your house was connected to that pump station at one point.
So,
No, my
The previous
house is connected to something that's totally separate from any of this.
so where is your house?
My house is way down here.
Okay. All right. And your septic is separate?
My septic is up here.
That's the existing one that you tapped
That's
into.
It- Okay, is this a lower elevation than?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
So
this
you have
goes,
a-
this goes down. Yeah, so there's a pumping station, I would imagine, from his
Okay.
house up to here.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
And then this is the 7-unit
That
that
originally
usually used
used
this
that,
field, but this
correct.
7-unit is now tied into this one.
And it
And
pumps
then this
across the
leach
street.
field is just for the house down there.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay.
But those are not showing on the map.
No, that's from before he built.
That's-
This
Yeah,
is from before he built
this
his
is
house.
correct.
This is when it was the Laurel Lee Restaurant.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, all right. And how many units are here?
There's 7 here
Okay,
and 14 up here.
so 21,
Correct.
and then this will make it, would make it, if approved, 27.
Correct.
And all of this is going to
That's
that.
right over to this, that's correct.
Okay.
2-inch force main that goes across. And last time, I believe it was you, sir, you wanted to have clarification of the 20-foot easement, which I gave in the deed.
Okay, good.
That's what you, I thought was
Correct.
him.
Well, it doesn't matter,
Okay.
but it's good to have it.
That was
Okay.
one of the concerns.
So, one of the things, Mr. Voodoo,
Yes.
we're going to need, and we're not gonna get finished tonight, okay? We're gonna actually need a site plan that shows all the structures on the
Right, so
site.
last time I was here, that's what was mentioned. But
Right.
that takes, you can't get an engineer or a surveyor to come out, they don't even answer your phone call, so that's gonna take 6 or 8 months to get somebody to come out. So, all I'm looking to do is reuse the space that's there and put in units, because apparently the town needs living for people, and that's what I'm just trying to do. If, I don't know what else to put in there, maybe Mr. O'Brien would like to rent it from me for $5,000 a month, and then it can stay empty, I don't know what to say. I'm
So,
just trying to make sure that I can take care of the property and pay the tax bill.
Yeah.
yeah, so there is an issue though for the board potentially in that your site plan doesn't reflect what's really there. And we probably should get clarified, which I'm guessing you can do, or Brenda can do, and I don't know if you, those items that are marked as septic systems,
Yep, they come out the back. Those
they're
are
called
the-
septic tanks,
Yep, they're tanks.
and then this pump.
Mhm.
That should probably be clarified as to that they really aren't septic tanks,
Right,
and they're not connected.
they're a holding tank.
They're holding tanks.
Holding,
Right, there's
so
a
they're
difference
connected
because a
to
septic
one of
tank
the leach fields.
goes
That's-
directly.
So-
No, both of these tanks go down here,
Down
and they
to
go
the-
into 2,000-gallon tanks,
So
and
what-
then it pumps
And then
across the
it
street.
goes over.
So what goes into those tanks, from here to there?
Correct, both of those tie together and go down to the end of the road.
So
I wonder if
these
they're
tanks-
junction boxes.
These tanks are filled by this unit, that then
Correct.
flow over to here.
In between each unit that's out back, so just say units 1 and 2, there's a 4-inch piece of PVC that comes out. Between 3 and 4, they stub out, and there's one 6-inch pipe that goes to those 2 tanks, and then it flows down to the pump station, and then it
Then
pumps
it's pumped across the street.
Correct.
Where is the major pump station?
It's down here.
Down
Yeah, it's
So on
shown,
this map,
it's shown on this map.
Correct.
there. Okay,
So here's your motel,
right.
and then it's showing you have a pump station here,
Mhm.
a 2,000-gallon septic tank here, a 4,500-gallon tank here, with a
But
4-inch
you
main.
also have
This is the
sewage
back, right?
flowing from this building
And this is where
to
we're
these
talking
two
about right
places
here.
that then go to
Everything
here.
goes down, correct.
Right, he's
And
right here.
this pump station
Right
is
here.
for
These two here?
For
Right
this
here.
or for this?
So the pipe comes this way.
Oh, sorry,
and then
right
goes
here.
That's
across.
what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
back here.
302.
Yeah.
See, we don't show that on this, on the
Yeah,
as-built.
the problem
Right.
is the plans aren't updated. So, okay, all right, so I think I understand in concept. Ralph, did you have an additional follow-up question?
Today, the facility, you're operating it as a motel,
Correct.
and we define a motel as a building or a group of attached or detached buildings containing guest rooms, most of which are have separate outside entrances and parking spaces nearby, intended to be used by automobile transients for a fee. What I'm hearing you tell me is that today, the people living in that house, in your units,
Some of my units,
are you operating it still as a motel for some of those units?
absolutely.
How many out of the ones that you don't?
Well, we just turn the water back on to half the units because we shut them down during the winter because there's just no business for them. So we're actually gonna be starting, I would say right now there's 9 that are fully operational, and the other ones we're just getting back on, turning on.
And of the 9 that are operational, how many are rented out on extended, basically extended terms?
As of today, 5. And the season's coming, you know, the summer's coming, that's when our business gets busy. And Freiburg Fair, and we didn't have that for a couple of years, and that was a huge impact on us financially as well. So we're just looking to make ends meet and get the place opened and generate revenue so we can continue to pay our bills.
Okay. Other questions from the board? Mr. Gibbs?
Are these units going to be rented out in the winter?
These new units?
Yes.
Yes.
I have a question, since a couple of the units exit, and the only exit is off through the deck.
Correct.
It's 1, 2,
3.
3 units.
Correct.
When it snows,
Mhm.
are you going to be clearing that deck and
Oh
clearing?
yeah, I clear it anyway, I don't keep the weight on the deck.
You did have a picture of the deck and it had snow on it.
Yeah, well, nobody was using it, we
Oh.
weren't, nobody's living there.
Yeah, so it's
So-
extremely important that.
Yeah,
there
well,
is
the
no
house
snow.
right next door to me, the deck fell off. One of the people that rode into you folks, the house is full of black mold and I live right next door to it. They live in Florida, but 2 years ago, the whole back deck fell down to the ground. So
Well,
whether it's,
yeah, I understand what you're saying, but
no,
we
of course
just,
it's gonna be shoveled, absolutely.
we just need to focus on your particular project.
Okay,
Yeah, and that it's essential, you know, for the people that are renting those units.
Absolutely.
That they're able to enter and exit
Absolutely.
without any problem. So I imagine a path goes from there, from
Yes, it
this deck
does.
down to the parking area.
that's correct.
Yeah, and that'll be clear. I had a small question, this may not, unit number 4, the living area doesn't have a window.
Unit number 4. All the units are gonna have windows,
Well,
and
yeah,
let me just double check the plan here.
Yeah.
Yeah, unit 4 is not showing the window.
Can I look at yours?
Sure.
Yeah.
This one right here. You have the door here, and then this is the solid wall. Yep.
Yeah, there's a window right there.
It's not,
I don't know why it's
why it's not shown.
not
It's
shown,
supposed-
they must have overlooked it, but there is a window there because I come to Brenda probably a month and a half ago. All the windows that are along the back of that property, we replaced, they were all leaking into the building, and I wanted to make sure that we didn't get mold or water damage. And I asked Brenda if I could do that. She said, as long as you're changing it and you're not doing anything structural, you can do it. So there is a window there.
Yeah,
Okay.
and one other question, just out of curiosity. What's going to happen in these spaces? In fact, one of the apartments enters through this space.
It's the office, it's the lobby that's there, and then there's gonna be a fire rated 90-minute door that goes into the unit.
Mhm.
And then the other space is just gonna be closed in, dead space.
So you have to allow the residents keys to get through,
Absolutely.
and then they have to go through here, and so these rooms are not going to be used for
Correct.
anything else?
That's correct.
Okay.
In unit 6,
Mhm.
there's gonna be, I would assume, a deck here.
No, that's coming in from the outside,
Okay.
the front of the building. So that unit's gonna be also, you have to go into that where you just said where the key would be.
Yeah.
Isn't this the back of the building?
That's the back,
Yeah,
yeah, that's,
yeah,
you know where the
this is it.
game room used to be there,
Yep.
back there? So that unit there goes right outside, there's a
Okay.
door there that goes directly
Okay.
outside.
Okay.
And there's 20 parking spots out back there.
Mhm. So
All right.
that goes directly to the parking spots,
Correct.
and this one would go down, you have parking over here.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Other questions from other members of the board, Ms. Miller?
There was an issue about a lien on property. Is the lien on the property that's under discussion, where the 6 new units will be?
First, I'm hearing of a lien, and second off, he stated this was back in 2019. He hasn't come forward with any type of lawyer or taken me to court, so I have no clue.
But liens are usually recorded in the Cumberland County Recording of Deeds.
Right.
I didn't check.
Now, it's a civil matter,
Right,
but
and
if there is a lien on the property that you're proposing to change, to do
No,
some work on,
he clearly told you that he was talking.
Please let Dee
Okay.
finish.
then it seems to me that we have to make sure whether you have the ability to deal with the property without any such lien, so.
So the lien that he obviously is talking about has nothing to do with this project. My address, and you can ask
No,
Brenda.
but you said it is on the property, the lien is on the property that you are proposing to renovate.
No, it's not.
So let's wait for a minute
No,
here,
it's not.
and just clarify this.
All right, it is a civil matter, so,
I understand.
yeah, but
The
the
address that
question
we're
is your
talking,
ability to do anything with property on which there is a lien.
there's no lien on that property, ma'am.
And, well,
My,
he-
the address is
I think it's an
650
issue that we have to be clear about.
Okay, 656 North High Street is the property we're discussing. My private address is 20 Devon Terrace. I have no idea, Bill, I've never seen it.
That's not,
Right.
Okay, folks, we can't have everybody debating
Correct.
each other in the room. I've been handed a lien by Mr. Drew. I can go on the Cumberland County Registry of Deeds and confirm it, but looking at this, and I'm gonna have to keep this if you don't mind. And we need a copy for Mr. Boodoo as well. And Ms.
To hand it to them and they handed it back to them.
And Ms. Miller is correct, it's a civil matter. You know, however, we also have to judge financial capacity,
and
so,
that's to standing as well.
okay, so what's your concern with standing?
Well, I mean, there's a lien, there's a claim already against the property. That goes, it's tied in with financial capability.
And you have a
Okay.
report that clearly shows in a hedge account that I have 125 in there, and we don't draw money off of it. It's just a savings for my daughter that's 13 years old. So if Mr. Drew come forward with an attorney, don't you think he would have done it by now? It's 4 years.
This appears to have been executed. It's certainly in the Cumberland County Registry
I
of
haven't
Deeds.
looked.
It was Hastings Law Office in Freiburg.
So this appears to have been executed legally.
What's the date?
The date is November, well, there's an invoice here attached to this for the work, and the date of the lien is...
And my signature's on that, ma'am, on the contract?
That's not the contract.
It wouldn't be.
2020. This is just an invoice. So, so there's an invoice from 2019, and there's a lien from 2020. I can go on the Cumberland County website and see if the lien's still in effect. But for now, let's assume that it is, because liens generally aren't released until
Paid.
it's paid, and that usually happens when the property is sold. So I want to submit this to the record if anybody wants to take a quick look, but I don't think we're going to finish tonight. So, Ms. Miller,
Oh, and I wanted to mention something else too. when, back in the dark ages, when I first came on the board, there was an issue that came before the board right after the renovation of the restaurant was done. And at that time, there was talk of the septic system where everything's pumped across the road. So that's been about 25 or 30 years. And is this the one that you said Dyer inspected?
Dyer comes once a year and
No,
pumps the,
but
no,
you said
no,
you had a letter.
correct, that's for the one that
That's
might.
for another one.
That's
All right,
correct.
Because I'm getting confused.
Yes.
Now, the other septic system for the smaller units, that is not under discussion right now because you're not dealing with anything there as far as this application is concerned, right? All of your changes are going to be related to that septic system across the street.
That's correct.
All right. Well, I know that system has been in use for at least 25 years.
Yeah.
And I, since you've said that the other one had been inspected, I think I would like to have it inspected, to know, because it seems to me that it's a rather complicated unit because it's a several staged unit. It goes for holding tanks and then it goes elsewhere. So I think that if we're talking about, even though it's probably less a strain on the units in the change from the
Yes, correct.
restaurant
Yeah.
to the housing, I think we need to see something.
Okay.
Unless Brenda
Ms.
can
Miller,
augment that.
you're requesting a current inspection of what?
Of the septic system that's across the street into which these new units will,
The system that's servicing the.
that's servicing
the
these new
facility.
units, yes. Because
So
I know it has a certain age.
Okay. All right.
So do
In the
I,
system-
but,
The system-
Other questions, Ms. Miller?
No, I'd just like to comment that some of the concerns that people have are, I'm sure, valid concerns, but they're beyond the reach of this board.
Which of those do you think they are?
No, about the types of people who would be staying in these units. Those are things that we, as a municipal board, cannot discuss.
Okay, so that's the primary one you're talking about? Okay. That's the primary item you're talking about?
Well, when I'm saying we can't discuss, yes.
Right, okay, thank you.
Yes, and the one other thing, I'm not sure of what the use is, because the definition that Rolf read does not include either the permanent housing, or are these new units going to be 30-day, or are they going to be permanent?
Permanent.
All right, so you're talking about building a 6-unit apartment complex.
Yeah,
No, which
so
is-
he falls under, just so we, let's
Yeah, I think
stick
we have
on
to
one
get
building.
all these things
So
straight.
the 6-unit building, which was a restaurant, and it's a change of use to a multifamily dwelling unit. That's what it is.
Right.
A building consisting of 3 or more attached dwelling units. Those are dwelling units. Dwelling units can be rented. He's not,
Right.
you know, and dwelling units can be short-term rentals, they can be long-term rentals. He's proposing long-term rental, obviously.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that people who are here are understanding the scope of what we can deal with.
So we're talking about that. I do have a question for Brenda on the motel part, but I want to get to the other board members. Kathy, did you have any questions?
Yeah, just that it would be useful, the design that we have for the EDUs is 1996, when this was a very different use. It has changed use at least once since that time, and proposes to change use one more time. So if you could go back and recalculate everything pertaining to the proposed septic, including whatever else has been added between 1996 and the present, would be very useful.
Okay, that should be on file because I know
Right, but that has to be in the application.
Run that by me one more time.
It should be in the application.
That the septic that's existing is,
You want to show, instead of saying so you've got calculations in there from Mr. Sawyer that show it from 1996 or whatever, that show it was suitable for the motel
It's double
and
the
for the
size.
restaurant.
It's double the
Okay, and there's
size.
some
Right.
calculations in there.
So at the
I
time-
think what Kathy's asking for is, since the use is now being changed,
okay?
just to provide the flow calculations, which I'm guessing
way
from
down.
everything you've said, you've got, and the holding tanks, you got more than adequate septic. But we should have some level of evidence in the application that says the motel units or whatever they are, which it might figure out, might
I
not,
thought in
and the
the-
apartment units and anything else connected to that septic, that, what are the flows that go to that septic, and then,
Well, it does show on the documents that you guys should have there for the septic from Sawyer Engineering. He told you, it shows right on the paper that you should have.
yeah, he's got calculations
of
for
what
the restaurant.
So
I
if
think
you
what
just-
Kathy's
If you
asking
deduct the
is,
restaurant
right.
Yeah,
with
I'd
200
like-
people that go in and out
What
every day.
Kathy's asking
so-
is,
No, no, this is not a
is the
restaurant
data
anymore.
that says that says exactly what you're claiming, which is that
Right.
the apartments use less than what it's qualified for. So that's all. So if the flow for each apartment is, and I don't know what it
Brenda,
is,
do you
maybe
know what
maybe
the
Brenda
flow
can
per
actually
person is
clarify
per
this
day?
right now.
Right.
The flow
Is it
per
120 gallons
Yes.
per day?
Gallons per day.
Per unit.
So
Approximately.
if you have 26 for a quick
For a
number is
one-bedroom
20.
unit, correct?
So for 26 units, it's 2,600. And my paperwork that you have clearly shows 5,000 a day.
So it's-
Right, but yeah, that, we know, what we need is updated paperwork.
Okay.
Because at the time that this was submitted, you had 10 motel, well, the prior owner had 10 motel units, did not have a personal house connected in.
The house is not
Okay,
connected in.
it- It's on the property somewhere across the street,
No, no, no.
on the same property, same piece of property.
It's within
No,
the.
the other house is on a different septic.
Okay.
The house that he's living in down below.
Correct.
Ties into a septic field that's on the property,
Either
but
his,
doesn't tie into what's across the
His
street.
house is on the property, too.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's all on
And
the same
also
property.
the other
That's part of the
question that,
problem with.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
so
but
Say,
anything
okay,
that's
guys, you
associated
got
with
three
this
people,
property
four people
would
talking
be-
at once.
Would be valuable to know.
and
Okay,
also
so,
the new single wide that people were talking about has a building permit, and Brenda's been out to inspect its own leach field.
okay. All right, great.
That was, what, 2 months, maybe 3 months ago?
All right. Dan, any questions from you?
The only thing I would ask for is just, it's very similar to what we ask a lot of applicants, is copies of who's gonna be doing the work, copies of the contract showing the amounts, to show that, you know, what they are charging for what they're doing, you know, to give us a whole picture of what the whole project
I
costs,
did, I submitted that, Dan.
with the contracts on in there.
No, that's the estimates that the people that I've asked to do
Right,
the
but it's gotta
work.
be from them. The
Oh, okay,
stuff
that's
that
not a
you had
problem.
was just, you know, from you, which I get. I mean, I'm not
Right,
questioning
but I
you on
could
that.
do
But
most
like
of the
when I
work
did-
myself, just like you. You
Yeah,
know what
when I did
mean?
my project,
Right.
I had to submit to the board
No, that's
my
fine.
total building cost, what it's gonna cost
I
to
did, yeah.
complete the project, and then I have to do an surety bond for it. So we just need to have accurate numbers so we know when we ask for certain things,
Well,
what's
the
in
numbers
there.
that I gave you is what they quoted me as
Yep.
of
And
last month.
he's asking for, I think, Dan, in essence, and I have a similar question, a similar line of question, is he would like more Loctite evidence of financial capability.
Well, you
bottom line.
have a letter that's showing the job is maybe.
Not your financial capability, we have that letter.
Yeah.
But of what the actual contracts are for the electrician, for the plumber, for the drywall, you know,
Okay.
whoever.
Well, I actually do have a question on financial
Yeah.
capacity,
Yeah,
but
no,
that's okay.
That's fine, that's.
Okay, so question for the chief. Does this require firewalls or sprinklers? And you're gonna have to go to the mic, sorry, chief.
I would assume that it does.
I am too, but I thought I'd ask.
It would not require sprinklers due to the number of units, and it would require firewalls to separate this project, if you will, from the rest of, I guess we're calling it the motel rooms or.
Are firewalls needed between the apartments?
Like between
Yes.
units that
Yes,
are
it would be.
inside the interior.
Yes,
And then my question on the firewall part, does that firewall have to go all the way through to the roof line
yes, it would.
in the attic
To
space?
to be a firewall, yes.
Yeah. I just want to make sure so he understands that.
Yep.
When you do a firewall, it's not just between units, we have to
Goes all the way
go.
up,
Yeah,
otherwise fire jumps
Yeah.
across.
yeah, so there's no continual space above
Above
where
the
fire
attic.
can travel.
Yeah.
Yes,
Chief,
yes, ma'am.
if he's increasing the number of units, what is the, when does he reach when he has to sprinkle the building? Sprinkle the building?
I believe for this, we would be at 20. I'd want to double check it in the
And we
code
have
book.
how many units going on here?
27 is what we
27 units.
calculated.
Not in the project.
Well,
No,
20
it's in the building.
No, but
That's
in
why I'm
the
asking the
total
question.
building,
There's 7
so
in the back
he's
building,
asking,
that's not even
does the
attached.
addition impact?
Yeah, I
everything?
think,
I just want to make sure that
Right.
there's no issue here.
So that back building on Devon Terrace has 7 units in there, it's not even attached to the.
7,
front
so that's 20 units.
Plus the 6.
20 units in the front building, Mike?
14.
So
With-
four-
plus
14
the-
plus
yeah.
14
There's
plus
20.
6, so does the
Correct.
6, the
7
question
units.
is, does the 6 kick it over,
To be
because it
sprinkled.
goes to 20, to needing sprinkling for the building itself?
I want to check that before I give you an answer.
Thank you.
Okay,
To make
thank you.
sure.
That's a very good question.
But it's not attached, the 7 unit isn't attached.
No, I understand.
No, we're not talking about the 7 units, Mr. Voodoo.
What they're questioning is what NFPA code states for once you get above, whether it's 18, 19, 20 units, or the 21 units that are all on the same building. So what you have right now is 14 units over here, and then 6 over here. It's all one continuous building. When does the fire sprinklers kick in is what we need to know.
Right,
Is
so,
it 20 units or is it 21?
right.
I asked him prior, remember I came to your office?
Right.
You said 40.
But yeah, so I want us, hey, folks, I want us not to debate here.
No,
Did-
absolutely.
We've asked the chief a question, which is, does the addition of 6 units in that one structure kick it over to needing sprinklers? He needs to research that. We're gonna let him do that. Okay? Other questions from the board? I have a couple, and then I think we're gonna
I have
move
I
on.
can know it's probably deliberation, so.
Okay. So, so none of the septics have been, so, Mr. Voodoo, can we go back? None of the septics have been abandoned, correct?
No.
So they're all operating
Oh, yeah.
in some form or fashion. How about the wells? On the 1996 map, it showed,
Wells being abandoned.
those being abandoned so that the septic wouldn't be too close. Have those been abandoned?
There's one across the street that's been abandoned, and it was a dug well, it wasn't an artesian well.
So across the street?
Correct.
Okay.
There used to
Now-
be a home there, and from what I understand, 20-something years ago, possibly it burned down, so the foundation still exists there. But there was a well, a dug well that's across.
Okay, so, and just to clarify, if we just look at the map again. So we have to look at both. So this proposed well, has that been,
That, I don't even think that was ever drilled, I never saw that.
okay.
How about the house? There was a house, is that house gone?
This
Right
house
here.
is gone.
Yeah, that house is gone, yes.
So this well was taken away?
There was 3 of them on the plan.
Well, to be abandoned.
Yeah, and then another one here.
Yeah.
that's
Well, to be
And
abandoned.
then the one to be dug.
and then
Well to be dug. So, the way I read this older document, this well was for here, but there's also another existing well out here, which isn't shown on this map. So, what's shown on this map for a
That's-
well is nothing.
Nothing, that's what's the site.
Nothing. So, where's the water supply for this?
Right out front, yeah. That does the front 14 and the back for the 7 unit. There's an application well that does
So that's the major well there. Is that right?
No.
No? Where's
No, the one he's talking about now, I think.
Might
the one
be
It's
here.
on the front lawn of the property.
So you,
So this, what about this well here? So this well looks like it's almost centered here.
That's in the parking lot, that's the one that we're using.
Okay, and that,
This is the front parking lot.
and that well has capacity for these additional 6?
It had a capacity for a 200-seat restaurant with dishwashers and everything else every day.
But
So,
people
yeah.
take showers and all of that
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, so,
But again, we could have a men and a ladies' room every day, hundreds of people in and out of the property, so I'm assuming that the wells.
Ms. Day would like to be recognized. Thanks, that answers my
This has
question.
nothing to do with this, but now that the Zoom people have audio, I think a couple of them have
Okay,
comments.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, see if I had any other questions. I also had the same question as, okay. Your response to abutters about police calls and people occasionally getting in fights.
Arguments.
Yeah, arguments. And the dates that were cited were 2020, January, which was the start of COVID, to today. And they're about average 2 to 2.5 a month. And your answer was, you're not gonna get in the middle of it.
I call the cops, I don't want to put my hands on somebody and be sued. They're gonna sue my estate, and I'm the executor of the estate, so if 2 people can't get along, I'm just gonna call the police.
So you don't have, do you have any sort of rules as the owner to, that,
Yeah,
you know, if
maintain
people
yourself in a
can't-
a conductively way when you
Can I
come to
get
rent
my
a
question
place.
out?
Sure.
So do you have, do you feel you have any responsibility at all for the tenants there to
Of course I do.
behave?
Of course I do.
So how do you manage that? Other than calling the police, do they understand that if they're,
Yeah, they
Can't-
know that if there's a problem, that they're gonna be removed from the property. And when somebody comes to rent the hotel, I don't say, you know, where are you going today for dinner or this and that, and are you gonna get along with the guy
so
that's rented
if
next
somebody's,
door?
okay, so if somebody's, so is there a policy that if your renters disturb the peace or otherwise result in whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
is there a policy that those renters then are evicted or somehow?
They're asked to leave, yes. They're asked to leave the property.
Okay,
And
all right,
If they
thank you.
become argumentative, that's when I personally will call the Bridgton police and
Okay.
say, we have an issue, and I don't wanna get in the middle of it, because again, I don't wanna be sued.
All right.
It's just.
Ms. Miller, and then Mr. Madsen, and then I want to go to the people on the TV screen, and then I want to finish up here so we can get to the next hearing.
This is relative to what we're just talking about. And I just need you to confirm to me the number of calls into the,
Well, we can have the police, but confirm this is 87 calls from January 2020 to today, which is a total.
that's all, I just wanted to confirm
And
the
that's,
number.
that's over, so that's over more than a slightly more than a three-year period. Ms. Miller?
Just wanted to know, because a lot of these behaviors and rules and quiet hours are covered in a lease. Do you have leasing agreements with people?
Absolutely, yes, I do.
And so the obligations of the tenant
Mhm.
and the obligations of yourself
Mhm.
are clearly stated in the lease?
That's correct.
It's a standard lease, I assume?
Yes, it is, ma'am.
And it has quiet hours and noise problems and how they'll be handled and everything?
Correct.
I think if we're concerned about that, and the public's concerned about it, then we should just ask for follow-up with a copy of a standard
Fine.
lease.
All right.
But that was an excellent comment, Ms. Miller. Okay, anything else before we go to the people on the TV camera?
Go to the people.
Yeah. Okay, so finally we get the electronics working. I'm gonna have staff control who's being recognized and just let me know who they are, staff. So go ahead. Who, if,
Karen had a question, so I think
is that KJ?
I believe so.
Okay, so KJ, would you unmute yourself and give us your name and your address and your, whatever your comments are? Is she unmuted, Brenda?
She said I don't have a question now, so she's fine.
Okay. Is anybody else that is on the Zoom call wish to speak regarding the Voodoo Holdings project?
I think the corner people do hear it.
Yeah, the ones on the top level.
Okay, so the man and lady in the,
They were on the
Yes.
top left.
yeah, thank you. Could you please state your name and address? Thank you.
Yes. Lynn and Joe Gonzalez Rivas. We live at 19 Alpenberg. Okay?
Yep.
We just,
You can hear us, right?
can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. We just bought the property last year, so we're not as familiar with the town rules. We did write a letter that if we can, we would like to read, but if, I don't know whether that's allowed or not.
They've got 3 minutes.
Well, don't we have a?
Well, if you can read it in 3 minutes, that would, we can do it. I mean, the board has seen your letter, but if you would like to read it, go ahead.
Okay, so we had written a letter before talking about security, but then, and potential environmental impacts on the pond. But I did, since it was a public meeting, felt like we needed to address some of the other things. And is the town approving this change from hotel to semi-permanent residency to fulfill some type of low-income housing need for the town? That was just a question. Then does the tax revenue that the town may generate offset the potential costs that the town will have to cover future medical, mental health, police? I mean, we already just heard 87 calls, which doesn't sound like that many over a 3-year period of time, but I don't think the police have ever come to my house. So 87 sounds like a lot to me. And fire needs. Does Bridgton have the resources and needs to offer employment for these long-term renters? I mean, it sounds like people that are living in a one-bedroom home, they're just like motel rooms. They're gonna have to have some type of work, I would think. And fourth, do they have transportation? Does the city have any obligation to provide transportation for these people if they do wanna work in town? I just think that this is a type of housing for people that need basic services that are very much different than people that are staying in a hotel for a vacation.
Yeah.
But it may not be the purview of the board to be concerned with that. Thank you very much.
It doesn't mean that we don't have individual concerns, however, it is not the purview or the authority of this board to rule on any of that. What I can offer to you is the town is under no obligation to provide transportation, et cetera. I mean, they can use the same facilities that any resident of the town is allowed to use if they're a resident. The town is, meaning the board, currently has in front of them a change of use from a restaurant to an apartment building, essentially to a multi-unit dwelling. And we have not entered into any discussions concerning the hotel going to semi-permanent residency. And in terms of your second question, does the tax revenue the town may generate offset the potential costs? That's a judgment the board will make based on the level of services they think are required, which in large part comes from input from our department heads, Public Works, the fire chief, the police chief, and others, and the information that's provided to us, by the applicant, and any other evidence. So that'll be a judgment of the board as a standard when we get to that. That's the best I can do for you.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
You know what, this is the other half, and I apologize, my computer monitor and audio wasn't working, so I jumped on my wife's computer. Could I will take less than 3 minutes if I could.
Yeah, could you state your name, please?
Yes, ma'am. Joe Gonzalez Rivas, and I live at 19 Alpenborg Way as well. Okay. Again, just a couple quick comments. Number one, in listening to today's discussion, it strikes me that there are still a lot of unanswered questions, number one. Number two, the issue of a lien is a big deal. And so that being an open issue shouldn't be taken lightly. Number three, I'm surprised that Mr. Voodoo has already started the work and been doing a lot of this work prior to getting approval for this. That seems a little illogical. And number four, I would contest that the city engineer or someone should do the calculations on the amount of flow of the multiple units versus a restaurant. I know it's easy to say, oh, there were hundreds of people every day using this restaurant. Well, I would contend if there were hundreds of people every day using this restaurant, it would still be a restaurant. So the load factor that we're comparing things to may not be accurate. So I do think someone needs to go back and calculate just what the load is going to be on the septic. And I know I've been told that in the past there have been problems with the septic going into the pond. So again, I can't prove that, but that's just what I've been told.
Okay.
So I think all those things need to be taken into consideration and not rush into trying to finish this project.
Can I
Thank
answer
you.
him on that?
Thank you.
Can I answer him, or?
Yes,
you don't
go
do it?
ahead, and then we're gonna,
So,
I've got some
yeah, so
questions for
this-
Brenda, and then we're gonna
This
tie up
gentleman
today.
here, he just purchased the property, and he says, I don't know how we bought the property, but he lives in Texas, from what I understand. He was up maybe once last year when he purchased the property. I don't know him. He lives right next door to me. And getting back to his other questions that he has as far as the septic, that's already been resolved with the health inspector from the town, with Brenda years ago. That's fine. I don't know if he bought the house under fake pretense from the people that were selling it to him, but at any given time, on my back lawn, twice a year, I have Motor Booty Affair. There's 800 people on my back lawn. And he's saying security. I have a security system at my house. If you want to secure your property, you should be here. There's people like him that he lives out of state, and they use these houses for vacation houses. So I don't think his comments or impact have anything really to do with it. And everybody keeps going to one-bedroom units. Well, what if you're a single woman or a single man? That's discriminating. All of a sudden, you're judged because you live in a one-bedroom home?
Yeah, I
and-
think we've addressed that
Yeah,
already, Mr.
and-
Voodoo. We've said.
But numerous people, it's just, I don't know if they think they're better than somebody because you have to rent an apartment. Granted, they just bought the house next door, $800,000. My house is worth $800,000. So we live on a beautiful neighborhood. I'm not gonna let the neighborhood go down the tubes when I live on the lake myself. You know what I'm saying? I have a family that lives there. It's not like I'm an absentee administrator to my business. I'm there 24 hours a day. And I really think that the people that are making comments, they're vacationers, that's how I look at it. And not only on my road, they take away from my business because they Airbnb their properties, and I know Bridgton doesn't have an ordinance on it, but he doesn't even know yet.
So, Mr. Voodoo, I gotta
Yeah.
stop you because what we have to focus on is the standards, and I think
We
you know,
covered them.
and just as we don't have authority to
Correct.
say who can live in your apartments, and rightfully so, I don't think we can pass judgments on whether somebody sees it or not, and whether or not their property is important to them. So these just are things that I understand your frustration. I hear the frustration of the folks here, but I think everybody's had their say.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
So now we need to, it's 6:25. We are not gonna, I am not gonna close the hearing unless the board wants to. It seems to me more information is still needed, and so we're gonna have to have follow-up. So let's get that, and it needs to be information so that you can make a judgment based upon the criteria of the site plan and the land use districts and shoreland zoning, but obviously, there's nothing proposed in the shoreland zone, so we need to be sure to stick to that. I would like Brenda to come up before we go, so you can have a seat for now, Mr. Voodoo, thank you. And thank you for everybody who commented. So, can you help the applicant clarify the septic usage, that the required septic flows based upon?
Him and I actually did sit down and do that. We
Okay.
didn't supply it, but we did sit down and figure out the flows for everything.
Okay.
So we can do it again.
So if we can just get a record of that?
Yep.
That would be very helpful. My other question to you is, I understand the change of use for the 6-apartment building.
Yes.
And I don't want to start a new project here tonight, but I'd like to understand how we're classifying the use of the existing motel at some point from your perspective, because you're the one that makes the decisions whether something should come to this board, and whether it's a motel, it's half living units, or it's in some temporary status because, you know, of the
Right.
the state subsidies due to COVID. So you don't have to answer that right now if you want, but I just, it's clearly potentially going to be an issue down the road.
So I'll just say one comment on that. So we can't use the ordinance that we have right now to clarify that. We'd have to pull the ordinance for when the hotel actually was approved. Because it would go by what was approved at that time. So it could be, you know, the ordinance definitions are not going to meet the criteria as it did back then, as we've changed a lot since then. So it will have to be the site plan from when the original approval was.
Okay.
Okay?
So,
But I can
and that
look-
would,
I can get
that
that
would
information.
clarify whether the current use is being done according to the criteria of the original approval.
Yes, because
Okay.
my understanding was the Janet Mills for the pandemic has ended. And he says it's still up there, so that's something I need to look into.
Okay, so
The emergency has ceased.
Yeah, I was under the understanding that that is done.
we need to
So-
understand that, I think, as a
Yep.
matter of, I think it's purely a matter right now of enforcement, but I haven't thought
Yes.
through whether it impacts anything else.
Yes.
Okay.
I do agree with that. I mean,
Okay.
and that, you know, not to bring out too much out here, but we are and have been working on the hotel piece, so.
On the difficulties?
On code violations of, you know, if there is any. The state health inspector's been down. Mike and I have had several conversations, so we have worked on it.
It's an
for-
ongoing process,
Yes.
is what you're telling me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
The other question I have, and Brenda, this is more, I think, maybe for you, when you talked with Mike about, because I know there's been a lot of talk about the septic. The septic plans that have been submitted to us don't include the 7-unit building, correct? Out
No.
back.
I mean, not,
So what we have in front of us here
I can include all that,
is just,
yeah. We went down and actually did the numbers for everything.
Okay.
In comparison, because I have the big plans in my office.
Yeah.
I have huge ones.
and it will help us with
yeah.
our calculation more
Yeah.
so. I defer to
And
Kathy on
and the septic
those
system
numbers.
is humongous.
Yeah.
It is.
Yes.
So I just,
Okay. So, what do we need for the next time? Mr.
I'd like us to send a note to the chief, because in the impact statement, he wrote no issues. And with this coming to our, that there was 87
To the police chief.
87 issues, which to me sounds like a fair amount for a piece of property. Can he just confirm that he has no issues?
So he has no issues in terms of supporting,
Supporting the change of
Yep.
use.
okay?
And I also think we need to make sure that the fire chief, can give us the information relative to sprinkler.
Yep. So we have that, fire chief, sprinklers. Okay?
We wanted a copy of the contract,
Copy of standard lease
the lease, yes.
for that particular area,
Yes.
okay? And I would just say that normally we wouldn't ask for that, but it really relates to noise and,
How,
Comments from the public.
are you all set? You mentioned site plan for all buildings, but there was quite a bit of discussion. Are you all set with that, or you wanted?
well, I was gonna get to that. I was gonna wait for the rest of the board to have a chance. So we've got the septic, we've got the lease, the police chief, and the fire chief. Is there anything, Kathy?
Resolution of a lien.
Okay,
That
I
was gonna be
think,
my question on the lien, because I know that's been brought up, and I'm not sure if we have any right to do that, but could we maybe send a note to our legal attorney?
Already done.
Okay.
So.
so can you speak to that?
Yeah,
Thank you.
so I reached out to legal today. You guys as a planning board do not have authority of anything to do with a lien. It is all court-based, a lien doesn't prevent anybody from building more or continuing to use their property as long as the property is shown to be in their name in the deed. But it is all court.
So it's more civil than it is?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So it
So we
really,
don't need anything on,
I think the only thing that applies in here is whether it impacts financial capacity.
Capacity.
yeah.
That's it.
And then, the copies of of the workers that are gonna be doing, like the electrical, plumbing, the drywall.
You want the quotes.
Yeah.
Pass this back to Deb.
Okay.
Similar to when I did my project, I had,
Back to
my excavation company send stuff in, my
I wanted
builders
to get
send
it
stuff
right.
in.
Goes to
That's all
somebody.
part
It
of
doesn't
the
go to me.
package,
Okay,
on that.
okay. And, hey, folks, can we,
Yeah.
So he has a question on that, Mike does.
who has a question? Yeah, Mr. Budu, do you have a question?
Yes, I do.
Just go up to the mic.
Go to the mic, please.
Just following up on that, so I'm gonna have one general contractor that's gonna sub out everything, so one letterhead is sufficient with what the job's gonna entail, plumbing, electrical, drywall.
It should still come from each of the
Well-
companies, like who you're gonna have doing the electrical.
Yeah, but I don't know with a GC, cause you add 10% onto the number to sub out contractors, so if I have one contractor that's gonna do the job, that's his job for me hiring him to go get bids, correct? And submit that, so, am I gonna hire Dan to do the drywall? No, I'm gonna hire one guy that's gonna manage it for me. So I think one letterhead.
Right, but you still have to have, like, the way our ordinances are, it has
Okay.
to be licensed, electrical. So that somebody has to, your GC have to have already gotten quotes from your electrical companies and your plumbing companies to send those documents in so we can
Yeah,
add
so
it up to
Dan-
what you have for a cost.
So some of that would be, so just to interject, I think some of that ends up being after approval because of,
Well,
to meet
see, I'd argue that
electrical code.
because when you made me go through it, I had to submit everything
You just did it.
with, because it was asked.
So I think
But aren't
what
those
we want.
numbers
You can't have different
private?
standards for
Aren't those
Mike
numbers
versus-
private? Like, I'm not gonna ask any of you folks,
Well, actually,
how
on-
much did
on-
it cost you to have diaseptic to pump your septic? You know, I don't think that's,
Yeah, I
But
think,
it's part of the application.
okay, just asking,
Yeah.
that's fine. That's not a
so I
problem.
think what the application says, let me pull it up. And I'm gonna pull up what it says on the application form to start. So, but the bottom line is, what we're looking for is, we're looking for a quote.
Okay.
Send it from your general contractor right now if you want, but they should list all the subcontractors, their names, and what the cost is gonna be, okay? And let me just go to before we go any further, we will go to,
And the numbers are probably not gonna be accurate just because of the time frame. As this gets pushed out and pushed out, the contractors are gonna be unavailable to me, so I might get a price for an electrical, but it might change because now I have to wait again, and that contractor may be very busy on doing other work, so that's gonna,
Has any of the work started?
yeah, we already did the windows that Brenda approved and the doors out back that we replaced because they were starting to drip in.
Nothing inside.
Inside, we have done some work. I removed the kitchen equipment that was there, the bar is gone, and I have material there. And we just fixed
Like no
this.
framing has been started or any of that?
We have a little framing in there.
Okay.
just a minute, I'm getting there.
I think if he lists the currently he has his subcontractors.
To demonstrate you
and
have adequate financial resources to undertake the proposed development, submit A, a breakdown of costs for all proposed construction, and B, so that's the breakdown of costs for all proposed construction, and B, at least one of the following: a letter from a financial institution or other funding source indicating a commitment to provide a specified amount of funds and the purposes for which those funds may be used. If there can be no commitment of funds until town approvals have been received, submit a letter of intent to fund from the funding source. And then you're not a corporate report, which is a possibility, but you're not, but maybe you are. But and then it says, if the applicant will personally finance the development, copies of bank statements or other similar evidence indicating availability of funds necessary to complete the development, including all proposed structures and improvements. So there is a level of detail that's needed. What I'm going to do is I will copy this section and send it to Laura Lee so that you have it, okay?
Yeah, the letter from the institution now is not sufficient.
The
that I
le- the
submitted.
letter, it may be. The letter from the institution basically says you have X amount of money in the bank, but it doesn't say you can fund the project. And that's what you need them to say.
With my own money, I have to ask the bank. The bank's gonna tell me what to do with my money. I'm confused with that answer, what you just said.
Well, actually, I think what he just said makes sense. So,
I'm not gonna have a bank tell me what to do with my money.
No, it just shows that you have the
It's
resources.
more, yeah,
I
it's more
should-
like a bond that, it's like an surety bond.
Typically, a letter
Well,
would
if he's
come
gonna
from your
pay for it out of his
financial
pocket, he'll pay for it out of his
institution
Yeah, but I'm.
that would say,
I have to have a bond.
you
What's the difference?
have sufficient funds in your accounts to cover the estimated costs of such development. That's all we need.
Yeah, it's not them telling you what you can do with it.
We don't tell you what you can do.
Okay. I understand.
okay? All right.
And also, do you want Dyer Septic to do the inspection across the street? Because that
Yes,
was one
I
of
do
the
believe that's
concerns.
important, and
So
the sooner you
that's who I
can have
would use
that
is
done,
Dyer.
the
I'll have them
better.
come and there's test ports, is that what you call them?
Test pits.
Inspection boards.
inspection ports. There's probably 10 of them over there, so I'll have them come in.
So we would want to know that your leach field is in good shape,
Yes, ma'am.
and the rest of your septic system is in acceptable shape. Okay, and, you know, we're not saying it's not, but I think Ms. Miller made a good point.
Absolutely.
We want additional proof. The last comment, does anybody else have anything before we move on? The last comment I have is I frankly do think we need a site plan that reflects exactly what's going on this site. If the board disagrees with me, I will defer to them, but what do people think?
Yeah.
Yeah, we need a site plan that shows where everything is. Because like the septic map that we have doesn't show the 7 units that are on this map here, which doesn't show the house. Even though the house isn't connected to the system, it's part of the property. So we need to know where that's fed to, and if I'm correct in that,
This
Kathy.
is stale. This is a stale map.
Correct.
It's a
Like-
stale map.
It's a stale map, meaning it's
Yep.
old.
It's old.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so,
not accurate anymore.
so Mr. Boodoo, what we need, and I know this might take you some time, but certainly there's been some others in here that have done this fairly quickly, is we need the real site plan. We need an authentic site plan that's up to date, that's to scale, that shows every structure on this property, exactly the way it says in the application form, which I think we've sent to you, is what needs to be on here. And that includes your house, et cetera, okay?
Even though they're all on separate deeds. I have
No,
3
yeah,
separate
so
deeds on the
This is about
property.
this is your subject property, this is your subject property, and the area across the street is your subject property. They're what's included in this project.
That's what we're making a determination
So
on.
that's why we need all the details relative to that. It doesn't matter if they're on different deeds.
Okay.
Okay? So we need a site plan that has all the proper detail of what's there. It would be, I don't know if you can, what do folks want with septic? I think we need at least something here that shows that these septic lines go somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and I think this is this still valid or not?
Kind of, and that's where this one came into question, I think, earlier, was because on this plan here, Deb, it only shows the one front building.
Yeah.
It doesn't show the back building, which is tied into, correct, Mike?
No.
The 7 units out
No.
back are tied into this septic.
Yes, sir.
So this map doesn't show that,
Now we know
nor
why it
does
was
this one.
abandoned. Now we know why it was
Well,
abandoned.
this one.
Well, there
kinda
must be a
does.
plan that
So
Brenda
we
has,
need-
right?
We need an
She
updated
must,
site plan.
she must have that, right? So when they
Sorry.
did the forced main.
Say again?
I said Brenda must have a copy or something when the previous owners did the leach field across the street and transitioned
Well,
it.
you-
There's
you
gotta
need
be a
to-
permit because somebody inspected it.
If that exists, then you need to submit it to the board.
And it
Okay.
has to be updated.
And it should be, so what we need is an updated site plan showing everything
Okay.
on these 2 subject properties.
Mhm.
And we need, whether it's on the site plan or it's on a separate septic plan, we need an updated septic plan, so we know where everything's going and can see that on a drawing. Okay, and there may be some things that exist, but.
I don't know if there is, because we have the septic on file, but what I think it is the original.
From
And
19
Rob did
96.
close after
96.
that, so I don't think there's an updated
Okay,
with the
so-
new stuff on it.
So I would have
Update,
your
yeah.
engineer
Mhm.
do both of those.
Who did this, Sawyer?
And some of it may be as simple as taking this map and slightly modifying it. Ms. Miller?
I just wanted to say that this often happens when people are changing existing buildings and the building isn't moving, but there are a lot of other things that have happened over the years. So you can start with your basic plan that you have, but then all of the changes is what we're interested in. We're not interested in what happened with Laura Lee. We're interested in what's happening now.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the last thing, Mr. Boudou, is, I would like some evidence that, so as far as I understand, you have one well serving what will be 27 units, correct?
No. I have one well that's in the front parking lot that does 14 units plus the restaurant. I have a well in the back parking lot on 19 Devon Terrace that does the 7 unit.
Okay, so,
Yeah, so that would just have to, on the updated site map, just
so
put
you,
back there where that
you
well
need
is.
to
Okay,
show
yeah.
that well, and it would, because you're adding 6 units to the existing 10 or 11 in that building?
14.
14.
14?
Yeah.
Okay. Then you should write a narrative or something that tells the board that the well you in the front there can supply enough water to all of those units now, including the additional 6.
Which Brenda just clarified, because we did the calculation together and.
I'm not talking septic, I'm talking the
No,
well.
we did do that.
Okay, so turn that in as well, please, okay?
I missed part of that. A narrative
The
for
well,
The well.
For the well,
I want evidence that the
There's water
well in the front.
capacity to
that-
serve the use.
Right,
Sorry, Chairman.
Can I add something to that?
yes.
Sure.
We also need permits for the renovations if he's going to start.
Permits for what?
For the renovations if he started already.
Okay, so you don't have a permit, there are no
I did not.
permits.
I did reach out this week and he was replacing windows, which you do not need a permit for, but if there's framing going up inside, I do need a permit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
So you should understand, Mr. Boudou, that, and, you know, that you're operating at your own risk, changing the
Absolutely.
inside of that if for some reason this board were to deny your application, that would have been a cost that you sunk. So you're doing that at your own risk. And
Absolutely.
you also need to be careful that you don't violate any ordinances, or Brenda will have to,
Absolutely.
Shut you down.
yeah, chase you down, basically.
Or any codes like the firewalls.
Right, but I
Oh, yeah.
think we're
No, I'm not
gonna
too worried.
get that info.
The other thing is, we didn't do calculations on wells, we only did it on septic, so he would need a well company to make sure it's adequate,
Okay,
because I don't do anything with wells.
okay, so you need a professional to let us know that the well in the front can, and I realize you had a restaurant there at one point in time. But as Ms. Miller said, we're talking about what it's currently being used for.
Okay.
So we need evidence that that well in the front can handle the capacity of the additional 6 units, bringing it to, you know, a total of, it's 21, right? No, 20 units.
20.
Okay?
And
You
you're
got
part
that?
of MWRA, I would imagine, right? Main rural water with the Public Water Drinking Act, where you do the monthly testing.
Yeah, I see you at the post
Yeah.
office.
Well,
and I sent
I'm
my
just
water
bringing it up
shit.
publicly, just
Yeah.
to let you know.
Yes.
You can reach out to MWRA, which is Maine Rural Water Association.
Okay,
They can help you with those calculations.
calculations, okay.
Okay, so,
Perfect.
so we need to move on.
Do you want to close the?
No, I don't want to close the hearing, because if we close the hearing,
We
we have
can't
more
accept any
evidence
more
to look
evidence.
at. So
Right,
we
we
will
can't,
leave the
yeah.
hearing open. And Mr. Boudou, how long do you need to get this information? We will send you something written.
It's, like I said earlier, it's all based on getting a surveyor and an engineer. It's.
Well, I would
it's-
just mention that the person that did the original septic design is still in business in town.
Yeah. So George, I mean,
Well, I don't know that he's in business. He told me he retired
So,
and there's a new
what we're
company.
gonna do
He's
is-
part of Sebago Technics.
Okay,
He subcontracts through that.
yeah.
okay.
So you've
Not
done
suggesting
some
he
pretty
use
quick work.
somebody, but I'm just making the point that
So,
there's a resource.
what I would do then is, we'll send you this list tomorrow.
Okay,
And Laura Lee, I'll make sure, if you don't see something from me by noontime, would you please tickle me? Thank you. And
Excuse me?
And then once, tongue-in-cheek comment, and then once we'll get that to you, and then you should let us know when you think you can come back. If you think you can come, obviously, you're not gonna be back next week, but you could be back for June if you could get this done.
Okay.
And then we'll have everything we need to render a decision.
12 days. Reminder of the 12 days.
12,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
12
it's-
days before the next,
So
whatever.
do I have to
meeting
do
is.
the mailing list again for
No.
No.
$200
No,
or
you don't have
whatever
to
it
do
is
that.
to certify and
No, because this is,
whatnot? Okay.
we are now in a continuation of a
Okay.
public hearing.
Okay.
You don't need to renotice anyone.
Just Brent
We will
does
do
for
that
the
on
town,
the
yeah.
website. I don't
Okay.
think we send anything
Okay.
out, but we do
Perfect.
it in our.
Dan, we're good. All right, so, are you set?
Yes, I'll wait for the list tomorrow from Brenda.
It'll come from Laura
Laura
Lee.
Lee. Yeah, okay.
She and I will compare notes and get it to you.
Thank you. Appreciate your
Okay,
time.
thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you to the abutters.
5 minutes?
Yeah, at least.
5 minutes?
Yeah.
Two calls.
All right, everybody. We're gonna continue here. Next up is Pit Stop Propane and Fuels, Raspberry Lane, map 6, lot 24I, I think it is. We've declared the application complete. The applicant has standing, although, or was supposed to provide more evidence of standing, and
You
I-
needed to provide evidence of standing.
and I do have one question about that before we open the hearing. And so before we open the hearing, you provided a lease between the parent company for Pit Stop, I want to say it right, Propane and Fuels, and the owner of the property, I believe.
Yes.
That is not signed. Is there a reason why, or did I miss a signature page?
I thought I saw a signature. That was the completed, executed.
Okay,
lease.
so
Okay.
I'll take you at your word for now. I had problems finding the signature, but maybe it's just because it was a long lease and it was buried for me.
Very long.
I thought I went to the end. Okay, does anybody else have questions about standing, or are you satisfied now?
Satisfied.
Okay, so, so before I open the public hearing, which I will, one of the things that was requested was the stormwater calculations. And, okay, thank you. And we have not received those yet that I know of.
Correct.
Okay, so we won't be closing, we will start the hearing, we will not close the hearing tonight, because the board has to have time to look at those, and normally we want them 12 days in advance, or at least a minimum of 7. So, and that's to give the board time to evaluate it,
Yep.
and to give abutters time to evaluate it. So we won't be closing the hearing tonight, we won't be deliberating tonight. All right, so with that, I will open the hearing, and if you could introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Good evening. And I do have found the signature page.
Thank you, okay, I appreciate that.
Patrick Coughlin with St. Germain and out of Westbrook. And we also have with us Jonathan Malloy's engineer, and Dennis Sullivan. There we go.
That's
from-
the owner of Pit Stop.
I wouldn't say he's the owner of the
No,
entire
owner of the property.
He's an employee representative of Pit Stop Fuels.
Okay, thank you. So if you could give us a brief overview of the project, I know you did that a few weeks ago. And then after that, we'll get comments from abutters, and you'll have a chance to address those. And we do want to try and stop at 8 o'clock tonight, so if we don't get everything, we will continue it at the next meeting. So go ahead.
Okay, and the next meeting date is,
Well, we'll decide that.
oh, you haven't decided yet?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, in terms of your next scheduled one.
Our next scheduled one is, regular meeting is the first Tuesday in June.
Okay, so we're,
Excuse me, well, May is yeah, but May.
Next week.
May is next week.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna assume we want to give more than, they haven't turned in the stormwater calculations, so that's why I jumped to June, sorry.
Got it.
Okay, got it?
Okay.
Thank you.
I will, so for those of you who were here previously, it's mostly a repeat. I do have some extra slides, but I believe they're mostly going to be related to questions and comments, so I'll just go through the initial presentation and then hold off on those. And-
Well, you can go through those because it might help address some of the
I would say, please
questions.
go through as if you didn't say
Right.
anything last time you were
Right,
here. Because now
exactly.
we're in the public hearing.
Yep, all right, sounds good. So this, for those of you who are not familiar, this is the overview. We're looking at the, I'm going to turn on my fancy laser pointer here. All right, we're looking at the corner of Raspberry and 302. There's a zoomed-in view of the parcel and the area. This closer view, you can see from the aerial of the existing liquid propane tank. It's an 18,000 gallon tank. You have driveway coming off of Raspberry with general circulation in a clockwise fashion. I have a Quonset hut for storage. There is a small concrete pad for empty, small propane cylinder storage, and then a parking area for the delivery trucks. This is a view on the ground from that area. So you've got the propane tank here. You've got the storage pad for empty cylinders. This area in the center, it's a raised area, particularly right where that white car is parked, is the subject of our proposed expansion, which that raised area will be pushed back or excavated, and there'll be some additional tanks there, which I'll go over further. This is a view of the existing parking area with some of the fuel delivery trucks, the Quonset, and then these are the empty tanks that were staged from the other site in the rear of the parking lot. So just as a reminder, this site is in Teal, the outer corridor district, and the budding neighborhood is in the rural neighborhood district. So what we're doing in general is the site was for many years delivering both propane and heating oil, home heating oil. The heating oil tanks were located at the Nerea gas station down the road, but were owned and maintained by Pit Stop Fuels. The Nerea folks didn't want the tanks there anymore, so our client has hired Gaff Tech to remove those and clean them and then stage them for installation on this site, should we get approval. The installation will include those two tanks in a concrete secondary containment vault, which is required for the tanks, a loading rack for the trucks, and associated piping. Because the trucks were going back and forth to the Nerea site, at least have some reduction in truck trips. But those trucks were always parked at this location. So they would come in the morning, get into the truck, drive to go fill up at the Nerea site, make the deliveries, and then come back to this site. Just indicating kind of where that other site was, up to about a mile up the road on 302. This is just an overview. The tanks have been removed from the site, but Google Earth hasn't updated yet. And so you can see the canopy of the gas station with the convenience store. And then in the rear are the two tanks inside a secondary containment vault. And then this area here is where the trucks would pull up for the loading rack and fill up and go from there. Here is just a cutout of the site plan. So as I mentioned, here's the 18,000 gallon existing propane tank. We have the the pad, the existing pad for empty cylinders is underneath where we're proposing a new larger pad. They have more cylinders they need storage for. And the existing parking, and then the new tanks would be put in a new concrete dike in this area here with a loading rack. And this hatched area, little circles, is a extension of the gravel driveway. So trucks would, trucks would come up and then be able to sweep out to this area for both delivering fuel and then loading up with the fuel. This is just a blow-up of that area that I just described. And then I'll jump to a, this is the grading for that. So you can see that the tank, the loading rack and the tanks themselves are all at similar grade to this area here. And then the bank is sloped so that we can kind of get everything at the same level. So we're certainly here to present the plan and get local approval, but I just wanted to kind of do a quick overview of all the other pieces that are involved, both state and federal. The main office of State Fire Marshal, as you may be aware, permits the fuel storage tank, so we'd have to be submitting an above-ground storage tank application to the State Fire Marshal, where they make sure we're complying with all the NFPA regulations or standards. DEP enforces any environmental protection laws, which include the requirements for reporting and remediating any petroleum spills. The Maine Energy Management Agency runs the Emergency Planning and Community Right to Know Act version in the state, otherwise known as the chemical inventory reporting that the facility is subject to. EPA is the one that's primarily enforcing the SPCC rules, the Spill Prevention, Control, and Countermeasures, which requires the secondary containment of the tanks and has the certified plan that has to be kept up to date. And then Maine Fuel Board is what was, they were the ones who permitted the propane tank in accordance with NFPA 58. And then they enforce compliance of this and other liquid propane facilities. And then, of course, the NFPA, the National Fire Protection Agency, are the ones who develop the standards that sites like this are designed to. Delivery trucks, there was a question about what the trucks look like, so I provided some pictures here. The truck on the right here is a typical home heating oil truck that you've probably seen. And then the propane trucks, otherwise known as bobtails, are similar, but they have the single tank then for the liquid propane in the back. The transport trucks are slightly different, but really similar in concept. For the heating oil, you've all seen these on the roads. They're typically sectioned, so they could be carrying home heating oil. They could be carrying various fuels, kerosene, gasoline, depending on their DOT placards. And then the liquid propane is similar, just it looks like a larger propane tank like what's on site. And I believe you said that deliveries during season will probably be about twice a week, we think is for heating oil. And then propane, you're getting about that as well. Right. So the deliveries come in these large transport trailers, about 2 per week in the height of the season, and they fill up the tanks that are on site, and then the smaller trucks come in and they're parked there. They fill up and go out to deliver to homes and businesses in Bridgton and the greater area.
Just a point of clarification.
Yeah.
Is that for both the propane and the heating oil, or just the heating oil addition?
So these are for showing both on the slide. So you got the heating oil tanker is up here, and this is a propane one.
But in terms of the frequency?
Yes, similar in frequency.
Thank you.
And just full disclosure, this is not a real truck. This is a toy truck, but it's the best picture I found of what the tanker looks like, without showing a different company's logo on the side.
It'd be a lot of trips if it was that truck.
Yeah, it would not meet the standards. So I know there were some concerns that were submitted to the board previously, or actually to the fire chief. So I took the opportunity to try and address some of those in this, but I certainly welcome hearing from the neighbors directly. We did speak with one neighbor after the last meeting, and she expressed concern that sometimes a truck had pulled out of the driveway onto Raspberry Lane without stopping. We have a fairly easy solution for that. We're going to put a stop sign there. Now, you might think, oh, it's just a stop sign, they could easily drive through that, but these trucks are modern trucks with artificial intelligence devices that alert the drivers to the presence of things like stop signs. So if there's a truck pulls up and there's a stop sign, the truck says, hey, stop sign, you got to stop. And even if they ignore that, then an email will be sent to Dennis, and he would then follow up with the driver. So we're trying to at least address that issue with Raspberry Lane. The on-site camera was part of the previous approval, and my understanding is over the years the fire department didn't have an active connection to that. It's internet-based, so Pit Stop worked with them to reestablish that connection. Is that correct? Yeah. And then
just a quick question
yeah.
about that is, who maintains that connection? Is that the responsibility of you or of the chief or somebody else? You.
Well, the hard connection from the camera to the magic of the internet is the responsibility of Pit Stop.
Okay.
Making whether we then will provide the link to the fire department, and they don't have to maintain anything. They just have to be able to access that.
Okay, and so you're providing what the fire department needs to see, and you would need to let them know if all of a sudden things go black or something like that. Okay, all right, thank you.
Right. There is a gate with an automatic system on site. First time I went to the site, it closed behind me, but second time it stayed open. So they are looking at trying to make sure that that automatically closes each time behind trucks as concern from the neighbors. We're also looking to do some clearing of vegetation around that, around the gate, so that nothing gets in the way of that.
So is there any kind of an override on that? So if the gate opens and doesn't close, is it purely just because?
It can be closed again. It's just
Right.
that it wasn't automatically closing behind vehicles at all times. So neighbors had observed that it was open when it should have been closed.
Okay, but that's not something that somebody can walk up to it and say, I'm just going to leave it open and override whatever the automatic closing is.
I'm not sure how the, okay, there we go.
Okay.
And then there's a question about propane tank setbacks, which I pulled some slides together for that as well. So there's two pieces I was just covering. One is that the existing 18,000 gallon liquid propane tank is subject to table 6.3.1 in NFPA 58. All of NFPA 58 applies to liquid propane facilities. So what that says in highlight here is that for a tank that's between 2,000 and 30,000 gallons of water capacity for liquid propane, you have to, and then for an above ground container, which this is, you have to have 50 feet from that container between or to any important buildings and line of adjoining property that can be built on. So when this tank was sited, it met that, and it still meets that criteria. We're more than 50 feet from the property boundary. I think the comment was made to the fire chief that the proposed oil tank doesn't meet this setback, but this table doesn't apply to oil tanks. It applies to propane tanks.
Is there a setback requirement between the oil tanks and this propane tank?
Yes, there is. And that's the next slide. There is a standard for everything for this. So in this table, they specify distances between the point of transfer for the propane and other exposures. And so in the case of the fuel oil, it would be considered a Class 2 combustible liquid. And the distance required from the point of transfer from the propane to the point of transfer for the Class 2 combustible is 10 feet to the fill area, and then 20 feet to the tank. The distance is 3 or 4 times that between on the site plan, so we meet that distance as well.
Yeah. Could you be clear about the distance from the oil, fuel to the property line? What is the distance required?
That's just subject to normal town setbacks as far as structures go.
Yeah.
There's no
there's not a
separate.
special setback required for fuel oil, is that?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, I'd have to, we'll need to double check the state fire marshal permit, but I believe we're typically they just don't want it right on the property line, but is sufficient distance from that.
Okay.
So stormwater, so we looked at the stormwater calculations that were provided with the 2015 approval, and comparing, there wasn't complete information. We thought that as far as we could tell, it looked like it would cover the additional small amount of impervious area. But I wasn't 100% confident, so I said, let me go out to the site. So I went out, took a look at the site, and the underdrain swale that was proposed for the area, is been overgrown. And so without digging that apart and trying to verify if it works, we thought that the better approach is we're going to be on site doing construction for the new tanks. We will redo the calculations and put in a new structure, and then make sure it gets into the annual maintenance that they do for the site, where this was, a previous owner and it wasn't maintained at that time.
Yeah, when did ownership change?
Approximately 7 years ago per memory.
All right.
So we're going to, and actually, Jonathan, while sitting waiting for our turn, did most of the initial modeling of that new system. And so we will put a detail together and get that to you. And then once we get that to you, that we can see what next meeting we can qualify for.
Yep.
So that would be constructed with the new. So I was looking at it as that we met the intent of the original design and would be covered by it. So I was thinking that you could look at it as we're replacing an existing structure, and it could be considered a condition of approval that we provide adequate demonstration. But it's your call as to when you already want to keep the hearing open. So it's a moot point. We'll come back and do that.
Yeah. Aren't you adding a concrete pad and impervious surface under the fuel oil tanks?
Under the what?
Fuel oil tanks, aren't you putting?
Yes, there is some increased impervious.
Yes.
But we're basically looking at the amount of impervious that it was designed for versus what was constructed versus what we're adding. We're adding a very small amount, and the soil that we're disturbing was fairly impervious because it was mostly kind of this shaly ledge material. Regardless, rather than get into dissecting it, we said let's just start it.
You're doing what you're doing.
And that way we can make sure that we're doing it to current standards and that we put in a functioning system.
Great.
So.
Okay.
So we'll size it to account for the 10-year storm per the town's requirements. The existing structure is located within the 75-foot wetland setback. The DP allows you to replace a structure without additional permitting. Even if we were putting in the permitting new, there's a permit by rule that we, one-page form we could do with DEP. What we're going to try and do is, depending on how the sizing works out, we're going to try to keep it out of that setback as much as possible, but there's a chance that part of it will have to be in that setback. But under no circumstance will we be within 25 feet of the wetland, which is what DEP says. So I think that's, oh, and then here's the detail from the, just a standard main DEP structure. We'll be adapting that for this site. This was the picture of the gate, and I think I just have a number of other pictures, but that's essentially it. I have other pictures if questions come up about those. With that, I can stop and we can hear from neighbors and other members of the public.
Yeah, that'd be great. So why don't we do that, and we'll hold additional questions of the board until after the public gets to go.
All right, I'll just put the site plan up in case there are any questions regarding that.
Good.
And let's see if it, I don't want this to be in the way. I'll move this so that folks can come up and use the podium.
Excellent.
Actually, I'll leave this to John.
Grab that chair.
Thanks.
Okay, so we'll do the same routine we did for the last public hearing. So I'll open the hearing, and first we would have people come up that are in favor of the project to speak, then people that are opposed, and then people that are neither in favor or opposed but wish to speak or comment. So is there anybody in the room that would like to speak in favor of the project? Is there anybody on the television that would like, or on the Zoom, that would like to speak in favor of the project? Okay.
She's shaking her head.
Is there anybody in the room that would like to speak in opposition to the project? Okay, please go to the mic, name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Rita Tishka. I live at 55 Raspberry Lane. As most of you know, probably from looking at the file, this was heavily contested the first time around and actually went to an appeal, was remanded back to the planning board. We still think there were several things that were wrong with this initial approval. Hard to see on this plan, but this site sits well up into Raspberry Lane, which is a 12-lot subdivision, 12 homes, residential homes. This is completely incompatible with the rest of the surrounding area, which is really one of our biggest points here. And I think the initial approval got that completely wrong. I'm sure it's well designed. St. Germain is a professional engineering firm. I'm sure they're going to do all the right things. I find it interesting that we're learning. We knew about the gate hadn't been operating, but it's interesting that we're learning that the camera never worked. That was one of the requirements of the initial approval. It's been 7 years. I'm sure it never worked because it was sold right after that. So the camera never worked. The fence has been, or the gate has been left open. I know at least all of this winter it was open, if not longer. And then sporadically, as we would go for walks, we would notice that it was open. Another requirement of the initial approval was that we would be notified anytime the tanks were to be purged. We have never had any contact with anyone. So my guess is either they've never been purged or we were just never, that piece of the ordinance was not, or that piece of the approval was not followed through either. It seems like there's a lot of maintenance at the site that also was left undone. So we're just of the thought that whatever's promised here tonight or whatever night, it's not going to be done. It's up to the operator. The site doesn't get inspected again by any federal regulators or anyone after the tanks are in place. We've been told that several times. Safety, it's a dead-end road. This is the only way out of Raspberry Lane to go past this facility. The initial proposal for this was that access would be on 302. 302, the MDOT didn't allow it, so they moved the access off of Raspberry Lane, again, back to the original point, 12-lot residential subdivision. Something doesn't fit. We've got now a bulk storage facility and it wants to grow. I don't see how that fits. I don't see how that's in keeping with the surroundings, which, you know, the safety piece, I'm sure the chief can speak to. But we don't believe we've ever been given an evacuation plan that works. We're told we could shelter in place at the top of Raspberry Lane. I mean, in the middle of winter, elderly people, young children, are you kidding? So those are our concerns, my concerns. We live there, we have kids, we're there all the time. This facility's unmanned, so there's nobody there. If there's an event at this facility, we're probably gonna be calling the fire department. The camera probably won't work, so they're not gonna see it through that. So that's what I'd like to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak in opposition to the project? Name and address, please.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Gary LaPlante. I live on Raspberry Lane. In fact, I live on 72 Raspberry Lane, Bridgton, Maine. As was previously just mentioned, I hate to be redundant, but I will be, just because I need to kind of get some of these things off my chest. Previously, we came and expressed concerns. In fact, I think Ms. Miller was on the board at the time. I don't think other folks.
I'm having the same bad dream you're having.
Very good, thank you. I don't think the rest of you were here to experience what we did. I hope you look back at what previously was explained, because I do think some of the things that were said, in fact, did not incur. For example, it was explained that there would be a camera on site. That we're finding out tonight. Actually, at some point in time, there's no real clear indication on when that took place, but at some point in time it was inoperable. We weren't aware of that. And in addition to that, the gate, I can validate the fact that the gate has been left open numerous times. In fact, I've taken a few pictures of it to show evidence of that, in case anyone wants to see that, to just validate that, even though we're hearing tonight that, in fact, is not being contested. With that being said, I just want to say that, in my opinion, it's completely irresponsible that something that would have previously been agreed to actually would have been neglected, and especially in an area of a community where we have 12 homes in that area, we have children living in that area, we have families that walk in that area, and to think that in a residential community, regardless of what the zoning is next to 302, that is still a residential community with homes on it. And to have that type of irresponsible behaviors that folks in the past agreed to actually take place, again, I just want to just use the term irresponsible. I also want to just point out the fact that past performance is a strong indicator of future performance. In the fact that this location has been, I don't know when it was purchased strictly by Pit Stop, but my memory was it was actually quite a while ago. But you know, they can certainly enlighten me on that, I guess. My point is, it's known that this hasn't been working, and it continues to not work, and there hasn't been any change. I personally am very familiar with gate operation. Okay, and any gate that slides, if there's any type of snow or ice impacting the gates, those gates are not going to operate. So I would also encourage you to identify what the means of the gate being maintained is going to be, especially during winter and periods where there's significant ice. I would also just throw out there, yes, we're only talking apparently 2 more deliveries a week. That's a total of 4. So I don't want anyone to lose sight of it's 2 for the propane and now 2 for the oil. It doesn't include any vehicles that are leaving the site, so I can only assume delivery vehicles will probably double. If it's a double amount of vehicles coming in, I would think it would be the double amount of vehicles that are going out, which can have an impact on the road, which is, again, I think for the most part, a residential type of road. And let's see here. Previously, I recall, and this may be wrong because it has been a few years, that the folks indicated that their attempt was to increase the size of the capacity of this site by, I can't remember if it was 30,000 gallons or what it was at the time. So I personally challenged them on that, because to me, this was your foot in the door, right? It was that avenue to just get your foot inside that door so you could come back several years down the road and have an expansion. Well, guess what? Here we are. And true to my word then, and I will say it now, I don't see this stopping, right? I see this avenue, again, just being another foot in the door to increase the capacity of this site, so they then can, a few years down the road, perhaps have more vehicles come in. My point is, again, back to the point of it being a residential setting, I just employ upon you to look at that, and please take that into consideration. Also, our property values, right? I've been living in Bridgton for 20 years, okay, been paying property taxes, not that someone with a business does not pay property tax, but the fact that the amount of effort I've put into this property to make it what it is today could actually be negatively impacted because someone wants to add fuel capacity is a significant concern of mine. And finally, I have sent at least, and again, this isn't like I've done it monthly, but I've sent at least 3 emails to the town requesting a copy of the safety plan, to the point where I said that if, without having a copy of the safety plan, it leads me to believe that there is no safety plan, and certainly none of the residents in that area on that road that I'm aware of have any knowledge about what a safety plan would be, because again, we've never been briefed on it, it's never been provided to us that I'm aware of. And again, that's not anything to do with pit stop, but it certainly adds another concern of mine anyways related to that
Yeah. Who
community.
did you send the letters to?
The town manager at least 3 different times. And I believe at least once I included the chief.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that wishes to speak in opposition? Is there anybody on the Zoom call that would like to speak in opposition?
Yes, I would.
Name
My
and
name's
address,
Gail
please.
McNamara. Yep, I live at 75 Raspberry Lane. I don't think I have much to add on top of what my neighbors have already said, because they clearly know a lot more about this pit stop than I do. We've only been here for 4 years. When we bought our home here, we were given the impression that that was it. That place was never going to expand. It wasn't something to be worried about. But now I find that it really is. And even just going for a walk, you're kind of careful at that end of the street because of the trucks. You got to kind of be careful and watch if they come in wide or if they don't stop when they come out of the gate there, because that does happen pretty often. I see them in the morning especially. But I just want everybody to remember there are a bunch of people living up there, and we just want to be safe. And we just want to know, especially the safety plan thing, I think that's terrifying, that there is no safety plan if, God forbid, something should happen. So I just want to throw my vote in that. I just want to make sure that people remember we're there.
Okay, thank you very
Just
much.
not look at just the money.
Thank you. Anybody that wishes to speak either for, are you against or? Okay, come to the mic and please, name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Nancy Hands. I live at 121 Raspberry. In 2012, we moved into the neighborhood, and at that time, as you entered the road, you would not even know that there was a bottled gas business there. I came to find out just today that when some of my neighbors moved into that neighborhood, that wasn't even there at that time. It's a residential neighborhood. It's not an industrial park. I just don't feel that something like that should be in a residential neighborhood. I spoke briefly last time to Mr. Sullivan himself, and I was the one that brought up the safety issues of the trucks coming out without not even looking. I'm glad to see that he said that they would put a stop sign in. Trying to think what else. Oh, and another thing, sorry. When we first, again, when we came, it was bottled gas, and it just looked like it was a graveyard for the used bottle. and they were just laying all over the place. And then when that other expansion went through, it was like, and then now this is another expansion, and like what was mentioned, what's to stop in another 5 years from the expanding again? I hope you can please just keep this into consideration. It is a residential neighborhood, and if I knew all this expansion was going to happen, I don't know if I would consider buying into that neighborhood, but, and other people, the Tiskis had their house built before any of this, and they weren't even aware that there was a bottled gas. The driveway was so nondescript. There was no sign there saying anything about it being a bottled gas. Now there is. It's on 302, but the first thing it says on top, it says Raspberry Lane, not a through way. It's not a through street. So they're aware of that, to let other people know that. And that's, if we ever had to evacuate or anything, where would we go? How would we get out of there? There was a fire in Ovides, I don't know how many years ago, and they shut down 302 between Willett Road, not Willett, Willis Park Road and the both, I don't,
Burnham.
right. And we couldn't even get to our own house then. So what would happen if something, I mean, it would be an accident, but you hear now on the news, it seems like every week there's some type of a fire, some type of a disaster concerning trucks, trains, paints, factories. It's just one accident could cause so much devastation. We just want to take the precaution that that won't happen. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in opposition? Is there anybody that's neither for nor against? Okay. So we still have a little bit of time, even though we're leaving the hearing open. I would like to save about 5 minutes before we finish with this part, because I do have some things I think that we need. And I recognize it wasn't here before, but I don't think these are going to be too problematic. So, could you perhaps address some of the neighbors' concerns? And I guess specifically either you or Mr. Sullivan. An overriding concern seems to be that certain agreements weren't followed through on, maintenance, the camera, the gate, those things. What would you say to folks to convince them that things will change going forward?
Well, I can only talk to each specific item. As far as my understanding is the camera was never broken. What wasn't working was that the fire department didn't have the right internet link and wasn't accessing that. We're not aware that the camera was not operational at the facility's end. The gate is working.
Excuse me, but saying that, being an important feature of the safety plan, why didn't anybody test it to see whether it was working or not?
It's.
Do you understand what I'm asking?
I guess I could only say is that from doing this in many communities, the relationship between the fire department and the facility is a very important one. And making sure that there's adequate communication, that can be challenging for for the smaller you get for departments. And I know there's been different staff, but what I think that certainly Pit Stop is committed to working with the chief and the staff to making sure that communication is open, that they're getting what they need as far as information, as far as training goes. Can't speak to what the previous owners did, but from what I've seen, it seems
But the owners have been the same for the last 7 years, correct? Mr. Sullivan, when did the current owners take, I'm sorry, Chairman.
Yeah, just not to pick on you, but we should all wait to be recognized
I know,
instead of
I couldn't resist.
bumping in. So just as a point of clarification, I also, how long have you folks owned the property?
I don't know the date off the top of my head, but I believe the current owner is Maritime Energy Holdings, and I believe their purchase was somewhere in 2019.
2009.
That is the current.
2019?
4 years.
Roughly, yes.
Madam
And how
Chairman.
many,
The 7 year that was commented earlier, that's, I believe, when it transferred from Lamprey Energy to Pit Stop Fuels, but there's been sales since then. Most recent being 2019, roughly, that I'm speaking of.
Okay.
and you want
Would you like to ask a follow-up?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to tell how many facilities, and what do you, tell them a little bit about what your regional area is?
Sure. Pit Stop Fuels, we currently operate, we have propane facilities in Bridgton, Casco, Gorham, and Gray. And we have oil storage facilities in Cornish, Casco, Gray, Gorham, and Limerick. And we operate all those facilities. And this whole project, by the way, you know, I mean, it's not, I know some people are concerned about the growth and whatnot. This was not necessarily our, we're not looking to, per se, grow that facility. It was kind of forced upon us by the lease ending at the other store. We were perfectly content up there. They ended that lease because they're going to take down the store and rebuild it. I believe you're probably all well aware of that. So that's why that lease ended. So we're just looking to, you know, have a local source so that we don't drive up the cost further of fuel from having to bring it in from further away.
And with your other facilities, do you have any plans to grow this further?
No, as far as this facility goes, I mean, if we did have any expansion plans, it would either be through acquisition of other companies in the area, so existing properties, or it would be, you know, to further our reach to serve customers further on.
Yeah, I'm not, I haven't studied it extensively, but I'm not sure there's additional room on that site with the wetlands to fit in another tank. Matt, you need to go to the mic, please, and be recognized.
Jim Maurice, and I live on Raspberry Lane. I just had a question. With the other facilities, how many of those are in residential areas?
I can talk to them in general.
Okay.
So the, as far as, well, one, we're in the zone that, our use is approved in the zone that we're in. Bridgton has a number of other sites there, as do other communities. We permitted the propane tank for the Dead River facility on 302. Across the street is a nursing home. There was concerns about safety and evacuation of that. We were able to point out that there are a number of nursing homes themselves that have 30,000-gallon propane tanks in the state of Maine. There are hospitals, including Maine General Hospital, that has a 30,000-gallon propane tank feet out the door from the emergency room. These are safe tanks that can be operated safely, and the you don't have to take my word on it. You can talk to your expert, the fire chief, that there are procedures for how you deal with propane emergencies, and they don't necessarily mean that folks have to be evacuated. Every situation is different. There, as I mentioned, there may be staying in place. A structure fire on Raspberry Lane could cause the closure and of other people being able to come down the road just for running fire hoses and equipment. So there are any number of things that can happen with that. Propane has been studied, improved, regulated through the NFPA codes for many, many years. And the devices that were installed with this are the devices you want to have for this type of facility. You want water spray that keeps the tanks cool in the event of an emergency and that control the vapors. You have adequate water supply on site and a fixed nozzle right there at the facility. So from the facilities that we've seen, this site was designed well, and from what we've seen, it's been maintained well as well. Getting back to your original question about other pieces, the gate is operating appropriately, sorry.
Excuse me, I don't think my question was answered.
Well,
So,
if I could,
what he asked is there, I think you were given a corollary, so let me try. He asked if there are other facilities like this that are abutting a residential neighborhood.
yes, yes, there are.
May I phrase my question, please?
Okay, go ahead.
So, with the facilities that you manage, are there any other facilities that are in residential areas? It's unfortunate for you folks that you purchased a facility that was in a residential area.
So I need to stop you for 1 minute.
Okay.
You're saying it's in a residential area, and I understand your concern. However, it abuts a residential area. It's not embedded in the area. So
The access to get to that facility is on Raspberry Lane.
And is that a public road? And is it within your subdivision?
It's a public road.
And is it within your subdivision?
Yes.
So the access to that road is within Raspberry Lane
Have
proper.
you folks gone up
Yeah,
and looked?
No, I know exactly where the access
Okay.
is. And it seems to me it's before your neighborhood starts. Is that correct?
Well,
How,
the way it shows on the map,
So
I know where you're
let
going.
you explain, and then
Yeah.
what I'd like is for the applicant to answer whether they have any other places that abut a residential area or a wooded area with homes. I recognize what you're trying to say. You have many that could also pose a danger to residences and people. Dan, go ahead.
Could you pull up the map that shows our districts? The
Yes.
one you had earlier? Because I think there's some confusion.
Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not right.
So you're in the outer corridor. I believe the entrance to the facility is still within the outer corridor.
Correct.
The residential neighborhood doesn't technically start for about another 200 feet up the road,
Correct.
Correct.
if I did my calculations correct on the map.
Yes.
Yeah, I just
Correct.
want to get that so everybody knows what we're talking about. Yes, it abuts a residential neighborhood, but the property itself within that district is not in a residential neighborhood. It abuts to a residential neighborhood.
So you're saying exactly what I am, but you're just
Yes.
explaining that the entrance road is 200 feet from the subdivision.
Correct.
Okay, so
And
So,
just to
so if you
cla-
could
yeah.
try to answer the I understand the corollary you gave. And so, which is, you're from a safety perspective and having something embedded next to where people are living. Do you have any examples of any of your installations that are, abut a neighborhood, bottom line?
I can bring some back. I guess
Okay.
I question, we're here for an expansion to add fuel oil. We're not seeking any approval or change to the propane use. And so I just, are we trying to redo the approval the facility
No.
previously had?
No, in fact, I was
Okay.
going to ask you why we were talking about propane so much.
Okay, that's, I just
Yeah.
wanted to
No.
point out that the
No,
facility's
but-
been operating safely.
But to Ms. Miller's point with the earlier applicant, we're also going to look at the whole and how these things
Absolutely.
interact.
Yep.
Because we're approving the entire site,
Yes,
not just 2 tanks.
yeah,
Okay, so just to be clear.
sure.
Just because I know you can't see out back, Mr. LaPlante has another.
Yeah, I understand, just trying to keep
Yeah.
order here.
Can I get through the responding to
Yes.
your first question and a number of
Yes,
others,
so
and then I'm happy to.
Let's let the applicant respond to the prior questions.
Sure.
And then if there's some follow-up, that's fine too. This is going to continue at another meeting, so I just want to make sure people understand that. So go ahead.
Sure. Just to clarify a couple other issues. We are increasing the number of deliveries to the site by about 2 per week for the fuel oil. There's no change in the home and business delivery trucks, because those fuel oil trucks were currently stationed at the site. Driver would come in the morning, get in their fuel oil truck, drive up to the Nerea site, fill up with oil, go make the deliveries, and then come back to the site. So if anything, we're reducing one trip because they're filling up on site. Well, it winds up, they leave, they come back. There's actually no change there. Yeah, there's no change. Sorry. But we're not increasing the number of truck trips for the delivery vehicles. The
Question on that.
Can I just finish and then we're
Yeah,
happy
let's
to
let him
have the-
finish, folks, just so we can keep order.
'Cause we've got
You're going to-
limited time.
You're going to get to be able to rebut if you'd like, okay? That's part of the procedure.
As far as there's a question about the propane tanks, purging of those tanks, and that does not occur on the site and has not occurred, so there's been no notification for that. We can only speak to the time that the current owners have owned the site. And I think we talked about the gate. It's partly there are several pieces that folks have identified. One is mechanical, making sure it works properly, which when I've been there, it's been working properly. Two is making sure that the automatic close happens after the vehicle comes through, which the owner is committed to fixing. And then the third one, which was correctly identified, is making sure that snow, any type of growth doesn't get in the way of that sliding gate. And so that's also going to be addressed. I'll also point out that there's additional security on site. There is the propane facility. The fencing was the gate is a nice thing to have, and it was required by the prior approval. Security is also required around the propane tank itself, and that is separately fenced off. There have been, to our knowledge, there's been no security issues at the site. So while it's unfortunate that the gate was open, there hasn't been an incident associated with that we're aware of. I think that answered your questions and the ones that were addressed previously. Are there any others that you're aware of that I didn't address that you wanted me, before we go back to, or have other questions or follow-up?
No, I have a couple things would like to see before the next meeting.
Sure.
But let's there looked like there was one or two people that wanted to rebut comments. I am going to ask, again, we're going to continue this hearing, so I am going to ask that folks don't get too repetitive at this point.
No repetitive on my part. Do you want me to state my name again for the record?
Yes.
Gary LaPlante, 72 Raspberry Lane. Two thoughts. One, when you're doing your research, please, as it relates to residential settings, regardless of the zoning of it, I'm not going to dispute the colors on the map and the zoning of this particular lot that they're developing. I would ask how many sites that you operate are actually not just in a residential zone, but in a residential cul-de-sac zone that only has one mode of entrance, so one effort or one location of egress. So that's different than comparing us to where the nursing home is and what's located across the street, whereas there is means of egress going in either direction. Okay, that is not the case for us. We're like on an island. So if you want to say that is commercial zoning, which in fact it is, we're the island that sits behind it. And if you want to do some research, go online and research sites this size across this country, which I'm sure has to conform to NFPA standards, and some other issues that have happened across the country. It is not the fact that there isn't safety put in place, it's the fact that it doesn't always work. I can't explain why. I'm not an expert in that area. I can tell you if you Google it, you'll see what similar sized sites have for issues. The other thing I would ask is, what's the size of the tanks that these fuel trucks have for capacity? I know someone that's delivered prior, okay, in their work history, and I don't think they just fill up once. I think they deliver to multiple residential locations. They do that for a full 8-hour day, sometimes more. Sometimes they get called in. I think to give the impression to the board that the truck is going to leave once per day, in my opinion, just based on what limited experience I know from someone I know in the field, that's not in actuality, reality of at least what I've experienced.
Okay,
Thank you.
so if I might restate your last question. What you really want to know is the full traffic flow in and out during the day.
Well, and again, I feel sometimes you're giving the impression that it may not be reality. And yes, I think you just nailed it. What is the actual traffic?
Okay.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Malloy?
Coughlin.
Or Coughlin?
Coughlin.
Coughlin. So, I would just, you've heard some of the requests of the abutters concerning other facilities you have, and, I would come back with the best information that you can.
I'm just asking back to you why I'd be doing research on the propane portion when we're not changing that.
No, he's
No,
just
I'm
asking
not,
for-
I'm
So
not,
what- can I
yeah,
Just answer that, I think, a little bit for you.
yeah, I'm not asking for the propane portion, I'm asking for, in terms of traffic volume that he's asked about, I have the same question. What's the total traffic
Sure.
volume per day of all the vehicles going in and out of that facility? Now, go ahead with whatever you want to
We
say.
can do that. I'm just looking ahead. I don't see us, typically the thresholds are if you get above a certain number of passenger car equivalents, at a peak hour. I don't see any.
I understand, so
yeah.
you need to prove to us that that's not going to be an issue, bottom line.
Okay.
Okay.
I think
Which is
that-
what other applicants have done.
Sure, we will give you an accurate count of that. And he's right, there's potential, depending on how many deliveries, if a truck has to come back to refill. We're
Right.
talking very small numbers of trips, but we will give you an accurate count of that.
Okay, now, Dan, did you have something to
Yeah, no,
add?
he kind of just answered it. Basically, is what's the size of the tank that's on the delivery truck? Is it a 2,000, a 3,000, 4,000? And you don't have to answer it now, but when you come back, to say, okay, each oil truck holds 4,000 gallons, and the average home takes 200 gallons.
So Dan, let me stop you for 1 minute. Dan just gave you a logic for how to figure that out.
Yeah.
What you need to do is show us your logic with the assumptions for what the traffic will be.
Right.
If it includes that, great, but it needs to be, it needs to be reasonable, and we need to be able to look at it and understand it,
Yep.
okay? Ms. Miller?
I have that in my notes too, and I know we're not talking about the propane, but I think for us to get a clear understanding, I'd like to know what the propane traffic is now. So what are we living with now? And how is that going to change with the addition
Yeah.
of oil?
So
Sure.
we want the full traffic volume, and if he wants to break it down with existing and additional, great, that's what you're asking, right?
Got it.
Okay, thank you. And then in terms of the facility itself and other facilities like it, okay, so you're proposing 2 oil tanks, and there's an existing propane tank, and other features of the property. So I think what I'm interpreting that's being asked is, when you look at that whole facility, what else do you have that abuts a residential neighborhood or an area that doesn't have 2 exits? Okay, you got that one?
Sure.
Okay. And I'm not asking you to do a research project.
No, I know.
So-
I hesitate because it's more of it's a combination of, one, the fire department's, the professional
All right, well,
stuff.
let me ask the board, does
they
the
do.
board feel that they should come back with that information?
Which information?
Other facilities they have that abut a residential
I
neighborhood.
don't know how it's going to.
Yeah, I don't know how it's gonna
I don't think
impact
it can
us.
change anything.
Because it's not anything in the ordinances that pertain to it.
Well, only thing you would relate it to would be, safety of the abutters, and there are various ways to do that. Mr. Mattson?
Well, I would just say it's also, the thing about the road is that it's a public road built to town standards. So it's already designed for traffic flow. I think the question that arises here is how many trips, whether or not the trips that are being, by the additional trucks, would have an effect on the road.
Yeah, and I think the question about, are there other facilities that are located in similar areas has to do with, the only standard I could apply off the top of my head here is compatibility. So, I would think of it that way.
But that's a zoning question.
It's a question in the site plan review. There's a standard for that. So it does deal with building structures, but I think that's the question.
Right, but I mean, from that perspective.
It's obviously an allowed use.
Yeah,
Nobody's arguing
no,
that.
I know, but so we're a petroleum facility with a propane tank that's putting a compatible oil tank on the same site. So it's, the houses along the street have their own sources of either home heating oil tanks or propane tanks of various sizes. It's a question of kind of what's your perceived level of risk, and it starts to get into a very an amorphous area. So I'm not pushing back, it's more I just don't know what to do for the information you're asking for.
I would try to come back with examples of other site locations that consider residential neighborhoods are similar, that's all. And Mr. Gibbs, and then Ms.
Are you finished with?
Yeah, I'm finished.
Yeah,
Darn right I'm finished.
Yeah, I'm very curious about what are the risk factors for a facility like this? And I think sometime, I guess, the chief will have to respond to that. What are the problems that are going to possibly develop in such a facility? Is there a risk of fire? I know that the fuel oil itself is very difficult to ignite, so is there a risk of fire?
Okay,
And if there is, what is the response type? You must have thought out what you're going to do if there's a facility like this and there's a fire. What does it look like if you have to respond to something that is, significant like a fire?
Okay, so you don't need to answer that now.
No, you don't have to answer that now, fortunately.
We're not going to answer every question tonight. But that's a great question.
But I just clarify that your question and your previous question, a lot of the answer that you're seeking is really from your fire chief. And it's kind of firefighting professionalism 101 and codes and such. So we can provide examples, but in any example we can give, it's going to be the same consistent thing. Is the zoning followed? Are they following the standards of the rules of the tank manufacturer, the state fire marshal, et cetera? And regardless of what the safety of the receptor would be whether it's one residence or 10 residences. So I don't know what I can come up with to answer your question.
Yeah, I think the chief would, as you said, is going
Yeah.
to have more details.
Yeah, I think whatever the chief needs, obviously it needs to be able to be, if there's anything on your end that needs to happen, it needs to be able to be executed. So, Ms. Miller.
When we went through this before, I think we were all satisfied that any problems had been anticipated. One of the things I remember very clearly was the fixed nozzle that was supposed to be helpful in any accident. What we're talking about is when everything goes right, nothing happens. It's just what is within the realm of possibility. One of the difficulties, I think, is the road, which is just a single entrance. We have the same thing in our subdivision. You can't overcome those things. So I think that what we need to do is to test it out to see if all of these safety devices and means are working properly, and if they're not, what can be done, and we've heard some of that now. Glenn, I'd kind of like to know, and Glenn was not responsible during this entire period for this. He did not have the responsibility of fire chief during this whole period.
Whatever, yeah. So what else would you like to see? 'Cause
Well,
we're
what
at-
I'd like to know, for instance, about the camera. Does it work all the time? Like, is there like a little screen going all the time? So when you walk in, you say, oh, the camera's working, or you say, oh, the camera isn't working.
So can I stop you there?
Yeah, exactly.
Just because
I'm
of
stopped.
time, and I know I'm talking a lot too, but, so, could we please get an explanation of just how the camera works? Bottom line, what is it the police see? How do they access it? All of that. I don't know if that's you, I don't know if that's you, I don't know if it's a combination, but we want to know.
It was, I was gonna say, that was already explained.
Yeah.
Well,
20 minutes
she
ago.
obviously didn't understand it.
Well,
Mr. Madsen?
I like to see three things. I like to see a safety plan that you plan to incorporate and make it part, and we make it part of our,
Okay, similar to what Ken asked, yep. Go ahead.
Number two, I'd like to see the plans and the protocol, and making sure that gate works 100% of the time. And the same thing, number three, the same thing with the fire department camera, et cetera, to make sure that we never have a situation where it's out.
okay, that's reasonable.
I will point out that the fire safety analysis plan that's required as part of the permitting for the propane tank, I did see that in the files provided by the town. So that's already in the town.
I'm just saying, bring it back to us, that's all.
Well, then bring it back. So what I'd want to know is, now that you're adding two, you just mentioned it's there for the propane, but there weren't two big oil tanks there to begin with. So does that plan change as a
No.
result of that? I'm not an expert in it. So you folks need to let us know about that.
Yeah, and what would you do if there is a major
Right.
accident? That's all.
Okay,
I'm done.
Did you get your three?
Thank you very much.
Let me spit out all of mine real quick. And I do think in terms of the camera, I think what he's talking about is there a camera that he's got on his computer screen that he sees all the time, or does he have to hit the link or whatever? So let's just get a brief explanation of that.
We can get that in the continuance.
And yes, that'd be in the continuance. Mr. Harden had asked for the loading rack details at the first meeting. Do you still want to see those or not?
No, they explained it at the meeting how they were gonna work. I was just asking if they were gonna be the depression style, like what you had up at Naria, or are they gonna be just a pull in, but then you would explain that there'll be a dike around it, which is on the plan, so.
Yeah, exactly. So
And-
the
and-
detail sheet.
And then, in the financial section, you don't have to answer tonight. It's Maritime Energy, that's got the financial capacity. And I understand Pit Stop is owned by them or a subsidiary of them. So I want to know who is financially responsible, who's paying for this? Is Pit Stop paying for it? Is Maritime paying for it? You
We
know-
already, in the supplemental information we provided, we clarified that Maritime is the owner. We provided a letter from Meritum's showing financial capacity, and we showed a printout from Meritum's website.
Yeah, I saw all that. I
So
still
they
have
are-
the question.
They own, and Meritum owns Pitstop.
Okay, so Meritum is financially responsible?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. The site, Ken?
Yeah.
Can I finish?
Oh, no,
though?
go
Am
ahead.
I?
Yeah, go ahead. You did call my name, so
I know, but, and then, I would like to know from the chief, and you may have to talk to the police chief, have there been any recorded complaints called into the town? Thank you. And then, on the site plan, it should have contour lines, and we should have a soil survey that tells us you can place, you can do the construction you want to do. I saw you've got, somewhere on the maps, mark the soil types. The application actually asks for more than that. I would like to, you might want to go through the site plan submission part, and, you know, maybe some of this isn't applicable to your project, but on page 81, section V5BD, and I can send this written, you need to address that somehow.
That's
And
fine.
it would be good if the site plan had contours on it.
We do have a separate grading plan that is, that typically the site plan doesn't show contours, and we have a separate grading
Well,
plan.
we asked for it in our
We
application.
can provide one that has the grading, and we did do test pits for evaluating specifically the geotechnical stability.
we
So we'll provide that.
Yes, we need a
information.
narrative on that,
Yep.
thank you. And we already talked about traffic, Mr. Gibbs.
I think you're on it now. I was interested in what happens to accidental spillage. And exactly, does that, there's wetlands in the front of
Yep.
your property which are downhill. And, you know, what are the protections against that? I know you've thought about that, but I'd like to have just a narrative or detail of what happens.
Sure.
Thinking of the tankers themselves, the trucks, you know, if something spills out of a truck, which doesn't necessarily mean that it's right next to something that you have already prepared for spillage.
Well, the loading rack has, what he was asking
Yeah.
questions about, has secondary containment, as do the tanks. But like, you know, delivery trucks, you know, spills happen at people's homes, and then they have spill kits with them, et cetera, for smaller amounts of material. So I'd be happy to talk about that in more
Okay.
detail, but the structurally, for the tanks and the loading, those designs are in the plans.
Yep.
And they're designed to be contained so that the oil, ideally, the oil stays in the tank. If it doesn't stay in the tank, it's in secondary containment. If it gets to ground, that's where DEP kicks in terms of ensuring that any spills are cleaned up to the satisfaction of the department.
So that's already, you know, in your
It's
plans.
part of the process that for any facility that stores liquid fuels.
Everybody got everything?
Yeah.
I will follow this, because there's been quite a few, I'll follow this up with something written, hopefully tomorrow.
Appreciate that.
Okay. So when can you have, you know, and if you can't decide tonight, that's fine.
Should be 10 o'clock tomorrow, we should have everything to you.
So our next regular meeting that's not next week, which isn't sufficient time, would be the first Tuesday in June. And would you be able to have the materials 12 days in advance of that date?
Yep.
Okay, just fellow is shaking his head yes, so,
I'm saying yes, he's doing the work.
okay. So that date is
June 6th.
the 26th of May?
June 6th is our next
June
scheduled
6th.
meeting.
So you would want to turn that in on, turns out, you would want to turn that in on Thursday, the 25th of May.
What about Glenn? Does he have to?
Yep. Sufficient time for you. Okay. All right. And I just have one question for our CEO.
Do you want me to answer right now?
Yeah, just so we don't, so it was mentioned by the applicant, I think the under drain filter, one of the stormwater features was going to be within 75 feet of the wetland, which is, I think, in the shoreland zone. In reading, so I want to know your interpretation. In reading the definition of structures within the shoreland zone, I don't think it includes stormwater features, but can you address that now, or do you want to take time to do that and then work with the applicant if there's an issue?
I'm not sure I understand your question. I get where you're going, but I don't know if I understand.
So what
you're
I'm
looking for.
asking
Yep.
is, can a stormwater feature be within the 75-foot setback of the wetland?
If they get a permit by rule.
Okay, thank you.
Permit by rule?
Yeah, which he said he was going to do.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Going once, going twice. Okay, gone.
Thanks for your time.
So we'll see you back here on the 6th of June, is that what we said?
Yep.
Okay.
That's D-Day.
Yep. And thank you very much. Thank you, abutters. We're leaving the hearing open. I would obviously encourage the abutters that when this material is delivered, if you want to review it, call the town office and I'm sure they'll email it to you or get it to you somehow. So moving on to next in the agenda, which is other, just very quickly. Well, before I move on, do you have any questions as the applicant?
I think I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody out there.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming out to talk, especially given the hour. So for the board, July 4th falls on our July meeting, and I'm assuming none of us want to meet then.
Oh, we have enough fireworks here, don't we?
Yeah. Make it controversial. Yeah, okay.
Hey, guys, I just needed to be a little quiet for a minute, thank you. I believe staff proposed Thursday? Laura Lee, did you guys propose Thursday, the 6th? So could I just have a motion to accept that date? Moved by Mr. Mattson, seconded by everybody.
Everybody
Seconded by
seconded.
Mr. Harden. Any discussion on moving the regular meeting to the 6th? All in favor, please raise your hand.
Can we have some s'mores?
Some more meetings.
That's up to you, I'm not bringing them.
What's that down to?
A reminder that,
What's yours?
well, we'll be here next week, but a reminder that on May 10th, at the Intertown Group meeting, Department of Community and Economic Development that wrote the Chapter 5 rules will be there to answer questions from various towns. I have also invited them to our meeting on the 16th, when we have another workshop, so that we can get, very Bridgton specific if we need to, and ask about things we can do in the ordinance. I will probably also invite Harrison there, because Harrison, and I'm talking about an hour of our workshop, not the entire workshop. Harrison wanted to meet with DECD too, so I just want to inform you of that. It sounds like on the 10th, a quorum of the board will be there, So I will ask staff to post that we are having a non-business meeting and ask that, of course, we don't discuss business, we just ask questions. Okay. And
Okay.
I'd accept a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn by Mr. Gibbs, seconded by Mr. Harden. All in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you, everybody.